Yeah, those are. Yeah. Oh, no problem. Going up everywhere. Thank you. That's process of. That's why we're on those fine. Yeah, so we're all over the scramble foods. Someone help with me. It's for every year. So instead of going up like that, it's not. Bruce left it. Oh, yeah. 6 months. How's that going? Yeah, full house tonight. No,
All right, call this meeting of the Historic District Commission to order at 7:02 p.m. And see Goodrich for Levinson and Eastman for Ferguson. I am going to move to waive the hearing procedures.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
If anyone wants to read the hearing procedures, they're over there. He's got. All right. So we'll move. Yeah.
Dear Matt, please publish the following public notice for one insertion on Monday, January 30, 2023. Town of Groton notice of public hearing, Historic District Commission. The Historic District Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, February 7, 2023 at 7 p.m. at the Groton Town Hall Annex, 134 Groton Long Point Road, and virtually via the Zoom platform to get the following applications requested a certificate of appropriateness. HDC 23-01, 11 Fort Rachel Place, Perry Lorenz owner, Mark Camo applicant, modifies COA number 2313, PIN number 261806394220. HDC 23-02, 62 West Main Street, Kevin Shirley owner, Advanced Group applicant, replace windows, PIN number 261918305854. A Zoom meeting link will be posted to the town's website. Meeting calendar can be attended by visiting www.zoom.us. Webinar ID 859-2531-2014, password 408839, or by phone 1312-626-6799. Applications are on file and available for public inspection during normal business hours at the Planning Department, 134 Groton Long Point Road, Groton, Connecticut. Dated this 30th day of January 2023 at Groton, Connecticut. Todd Brady, secretary.
All right, so we'll start with HDC 23-01, 11 Fort Rachel Place. Someone else?
Evening, I presented have it together, because I can see who was on the side of the deck, and it's in hand out. And then obviously, for the record. What I'd like to do is, kind of walk you through everything here, I may have prepared some notes just to keep myself organized. That's all I have.
And what you can do, in case if you look at the screen there, if you flip it around, you're upside down and then.
Got it show too?
Yeah, just. No, just one at a time.
Okay. All right. Give a little overview here. Hello, my name is Perry Lorenz, owner of 11 Fort Rachel Place, along with my wife, Felicia. I appreciate the opportunity to come before the historic board today to review our ongoing project. I will provide an overview regarding our ongoing status and outline some of the modifications that were submitted for building permit approval and incorporated during the final design process as a result of encountering some issues that came up while performing construction. We hope the commission will recognize these to be enhancements and consider it consistent with the original intent of the certificate of appropriateness received back in December 1st of 2020. Before I start to review the project, I'd like to state that I'll be providing the presentation today and not our project architect, Mark Kamal. During the process of preparing for this hearing, I learned of some ancillary issues involving the commission and Mr. Kamal. In considering the enhancements that are the subject of this hearing appear to be rather innocuous, I felt it was a presentation I could handle. I hope. Please know that I'm not an architect nor fully understand the complexities associated with the historical design elements. However, I will try to do my best to give a comprehensive overview of everything that has evolved since we received the original COA. To start, I would first like to discuss a situation that initiated some of the modifications. This past spring, my wife Felicia underwent brain surgery for a rare condition known as trigeminal neuralgia. During surgery, she suffered a severe stroke, which left her basically immobile and in the brain trauma unit for an extended period. Based on this situation, I immediately asked our project architect to investigate options available to us to help support Felicia's new physical limitations. So the design team worked on incorporating the necessary ADA handicap considerations, which involved increasing the size of the elevator to improve wheelchair accessibility, changing the stairwell design with rise and run and switchback laning for easier travel, and modifying service floor hallways and so on for handicap provisions to meet Felicia's new requirements. These interior modifications had to be carefully coordinated with the ongoing site challenges and foundation design, as we had ledge removal already ongoing, nearing completion at that time. To give a brief overview of the rock removal process, I would like the commission to know that we engaged a geologist familiar with rock moving techniques before initiating any work. Upon studying the ledge formation, it was determined that the rock should not be removed with conventional blasting means and methods as originally anticipated. To ensure there was no impact to the neighboring properties, we proceeded with only mechanical removal of the rock on site with expanding cement application known as Dexpan. This resulted in limitations that influenced the engineering and how the design team would ultimately incorporate the foundation, structural steel, elevator pit, stairwell, service board, and garage entry, and so on. This approach with rock removal certainly created limitations on what we could actually achieve with incorporating the necessary ADA modifications. With that said, we believe what was done stayed within the four corners of the original COA we received. I'd now like to walk you through some of the things. These were original boards that were basically presented back when we submitted for the original COA that showed that we really, the architect and design team worked to keep the building and home in its natural environment within the historic district. And, we believe that we maintain that. So these are,
is that this?
Yes, that pavement, yes. And so we believe that we've maintained all the same original COA considerations.
Peter, is a way to make it bigger so if anybody wants to see it, or is that? I don't know if anyone else is here because of this. Be able to see them. There's talking about. If we don't want to do that, that's fine. I thought we still would make it bigger, bigger screen. I didn't mean to put you on the slot, Peter.
In the past, they've been bigger.
Good view, the top right. Sorry,
No worries.
I could remove him. I think it won't get any bigger unless I remove him. Then it would go.
Physically removed. Sounds sweet. Yes.
There we go.
Sorry for that.
Modern technology.
So this is what you're looking at as a board basically that shows, what we had originally presented early on and the, just some of the citations out of the handbook and what the design team tried to pull into, the original design. And these are basically there for reference material only. So now, I'd like to kind of go into some of the modifications, but before I do that, I did add two images of, the severity of the rock removal and really, what we had to do to, deal with this challenging site. And you can get an image here on the ledge profile after the rock removal where you can see all the line drilling. And basically the expanding cement would take out various sections at a time, but it's not as controllable as, what would be typical with a blast type application. So incorporating the interior ADA provisions, the design team had to move a couple of the windows and change the orientation of the entry canopy. And I'm going to go to this slide to show you that. In doing so, when the original, looking at it upside down here, so in the original application, we had a canopy that ran east to west, and then we moved it north to south because these windows were the stair change and the elevator change had to get relocated. In doing that, we also balanced the side with matching two windows that were similar on the house to try to get a better balance and symmetry. So the design team took this as an opportunity to improve this balance and window distribution with the goal to realize a more normalized ratio, which is commonly found in a historic district, while maintaining improved window and siding details. We felt this to be an enhancement to not install the two lower windows here on the west elevation. And those lower transom windows during the recent framing and siding effort as they end up being much more visible than previously thought from the street line. And you'll notice in your presentation, if you flip to one more slide, you'll see what that would have looked like. I hung them, I have the windows, I hung them on there just so you get the visual of what it would look like and why that was a change that I made more so than the design team, just because I think that they were a lot more visible from the street line than anticipated, so I held off on installing. I can still install them if, you know, the commission feels it's appropriate, but we thought it would look better with a more vegetative approach to the site. And you'll see what the intent is on this particular elevation here, is the original site was pretty well filled with landscape through the construction process. That landscape was affected. So we would replant landscape to go back and screen the house. And that is the intent. And we plan on incorporating some tiered landscape planter shelves along the ledge slope to help screen and soften the west elevation to replace the vegetation that was lost. During the review of the window orientation, trying to improve symmetry on the south and west elevations, it was suggested that the radius inset at the gable peak windows be more representative of the local district. And I'm speaking to these smaller windows here, where they're originally like inset with a turquoise to go back to a white view and more of a flush application, as you can see, is what was installed. With a more simpler detailed review, other gables in the district and found that to be the case. And in fact, what we were originally proposing would have been in the minority of design compared to what is presently in the district. So making this change seem quite logical. And you'll see there's a board that will show what we have and what was represented in the district with various gable designs. So that's what we have, and this is some examples of more of a non-radial type gable window insert. In summary, we would like to confirm with this commission our project is still in good standing with the issue certificate of appropriateness, and hope the commission agrees with us that the enhancements made are only more in keeping with the historic district handbook guidelines. I would like to note that the handbook does allow special exceptions for certain requirements associated with the American Disabilities Act, as noted in page 6. It is our interpretation that the massing and facade arrangements remain compatible, harmonious with its immediate historic surroundings by reflecting both its characteristics, scale, building traditions of those environments, and that these adjustments are simply slight rearrangements of the previously approved elements. It was our interpretation and opinion. The nature of the original design is still materially the same, both in detail and scope. We have kept the same materials, same window types, general details that were incorporated within the original COF. And in your handbook, and I presented to you just as a situation, the very last page. I wanted to make the commission aware of an ongoing situation at the project site and the importance of keeping the project moving forward quickly. Since working on the project, we have continually been plagued with trespassers. They break through and tear down the security fence on a regular basis, basically weekly, and do not abide by any of the no trespassing signs. What you see is a typical weekend and evening findings on site. And it's our feeling that it's important we conclude this construction project to protect the site appropriately. I plan to return to the commission underneath a separate COA request at a later date to investigate potential fencing options and the like to help protect the property and prevent the risk of injury of somebody falling from the rock ledge if they're impaired. Thank you very much for your consideration today. I'll do my best to answer any questions you may have about our presentation and request. The kids here.
But two questions. Did the height change?
No.
Okay. It just did.
The massing is the same. The height is the same. Basically, the window arrangement's different on the south side and the west side. It was our understanding those were the sides that we needed to present today. due to the elevator changes and the stairwell changes in the ledge.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it just seems like. The original roof line, you would find out, now you've got all this extra. Thing there and there, so it didn't push all the way up.
No, the floor elevations in my understanding are the same. I'd have to go back and compare them the drawings there. The original rock came out, they might see this is elevation 30. It may have become the rock maybe at 28. 28.
So you- Okay. And then one other question, so these plans, you submitted these? The revised plans?
So for the building department.
Okay.
Not all the window placements and stuff. Some of those happen after the building.
It's like a morphing. The project. Okay.
Who said it was okay to move things around without coming back here, just out of curiosity, was just the unilateral decision with the company architect, the builder,
Well,
and I'm sorry to hear about your wife too, by the way, you know, it's a big issue. to deal with.
so part of it, you know, some of the changes, like I mentioned on the two transom windows. That I didn't install, that was a personal decision. I didn't realize, in all honesty, that window orientation was something that would be looked at that finite, as long as the general window and nature of what was approved on the materials would be okay, because I'm changing the materials, it doesn't change. So I didn't realize that was necessarily nature. You know, I certainly talked to, you know, the design team along the way. And, you know, it was our opinion that we were okay. But and that's why we're here today to confirm that.
But you guys got these, if you remember, some of the difference.
Does that know you didn't get them, or you know you didn't send them else?
There was a morphing, it wasn't exactly the same as what they're either.
Okay.
Tom's got his report too, so on there. It's like he's basically saying it's changed the harmonics with this area. Other than the window configuration, which got changed before the time.
I think that it's important to keep in mind that when you were in the construction process, that issues arise. And I'm saying that happens whether it's Bezetta or whether it's this house on the hill, and to truly expect that for every little change, although it's theoretically mandated that someone come back to the historic district commission, it could cost you 2, 3, 4 weeks of construction time if you have to frame going forward. So I think you have to apply a standard of reasonableness or practicality to what the actual construction process. If you can flag it beforehand and you know, but if you're framing something and suddenly you've got to make an elevator bigger, are you gonna stop the job? I mean, realistically speaking, that is.
Well, the big problem I have with that, although I understand what you're saying, is what I've learned since my time with the commission. If somebody may act in not good faith or may not tell us everything, and we approve it, then we're stuck. So I see what you're saying too. But, you know, this commission is here to represent the residents of the historic district as well, so that there's got to be a balance there. So I see what you're saying. I think we have to err a little more on the side of caution, because I'm not gonna bring up any projects in particular, you know, what you're talking about, where, well, you got a photograph and you guys okay this, now you can't do anything else, and no, it wasn't brought up to us, and I don't, as long as it's gonna be that element of gotcha, I'm not comfortable with being that.
Oh, I think I think it's made you being somewhat impractical.
Okay.
No, because I don't have any problem with any changes. I don't have- just so you know, I don't have any issues whatsoever. But the fact that no one came and we hold other people to the standard.
But we don't hold to a rigid standard. If you come, over my many years on the historic district commission, I've dealt with a number of issues where people have done things that were not approved at the time and have had to come back and get it approved. And if in the final analysis, what they have done is appropriate, that is the standard of review. I've said this before, that we are not a penalty imposing commission. That is not our job. It's, you can slap someone on the hand and you could, you know, chastise them and call them a bad person. But in the end, is what they did appropriate or not? And if it is, then you have to approve it.
I don't think anybody's saying anybody's a bad person, we're just saying we want. Hang on, as we've said before, there's a handbook and there's a commission, until you change those, you abide by the rules. That's my opinion.
But what is, so if you don't abide by the rules, do you not approve the change?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I have a question. I'm curious that if, I know this isn't what we do, but if these were the first original set of plans we saw and there wasn't anything built, would they be appropriate? I'm thinking,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is they'd be appropriate. So we've got an appropriate architectural thing here, according to what I'm looking at. And the arguments about the timing. And I agree with Todd. I think there's a procedural piece that I don't think it matters if the final thing is appropriate.
I think the part we're forgetting about procedural piece is that the residents have a right to come to this hearing. And if you prove something that is changed without approval, you've now denied the neighbors the rights to either support or not support the
They
project.
can be here tonight.
They can be here
They
tonight.
can make
What's
their
the difference?
case. This
Already
is a
done.
public hearing.
It's already done. If you decide it's not appropriate, then you can take some
So we can
measure
take
of
it,
action, but otherwise,
do the original thing.
What are we talking about?
Right, but what, we need to have some grounds for what's not appropriate in this thing, other than he didn't ask for it at the right time, don't we? I mean, I'm the newest member.
I
So-
agree with you.
But I don't think personally, I'm not weighing in the merits of whether this is appropriate or not yet. I'm just simply talking about the question that came up is. I was just kind of countering your point where you have your opinion and mine. I think both our opinions are valid. I'm not weighing in whether I think it's appropriate or not. I'm just thinking we have to
Oh, okay.
follow procedure. Over here.
And I think we are, aren't we, Sean? Are we following the procedure? Are we not following the procedure? I mean, I'm not sure what your point is.
The point is where Todd said that he thinks that you shouldn't have to stop. I just disagreed with him. It's
Right.
a discussion. That's what a lot of people want to discuss.
We end up in the same place.
But the handbook does go into multiple paragraphs in regards to if you do something you're not approved with, you can
Yeah.
be fined, you can.
Right.
Stuff.
Right,
So it's not like it isn't spelled out if you don't do what you can. I think the intention
Right.
is, sure, I agree with you. Construction, I'm very aware of this. I mean, I was here fighting Sarah about one tread because it didn't work. And it was a big deal to her. I don't see why it was a big deal to me. Because I deal with that. I'm just saying that the rules spell it out to do what you intend on doing or come back and ask for a change. We just, I don't know, we just held other people at different levels.
It is a little bit of a learning process for the side of the aisle, so. I've built a lot of people know that I've been in construction my whole career, and when you deal with different historical districts and or architectural districts or whatever. It's interesting because different boards. One thing's different, right, it's, we're all human. And honestly, I probably should have came earlier, I definitely apologize if I should have been here earlier, just, one change for me is like, one other change, not looking at it at a macro standpoint. And looking at it maybe more on, that particular detail, I think we, move that to help for the elevator, I try to think it works. And that, so I fully admit that perhaps I'm here later than I should be, and I definitely apologize for that. But I hope that the nature of changes are still very harmonious with what, the original intent was. What we thought the single way. stood for.
My only comment would be is you had a professional. That should have. I don't think you did anything. But you had a professional that should have. And now it's the third time in a couple weeks. Or it's just another situation. That's not.
And in all fairness, I was gonna bring some other public communication when I was talking. I mean, I got a call from a neighbor of his, Michael Hardesty, who's in full support of your project. And that carries a lot of weight with me because, in my opinion, this commission held them to a different standard. And that's my opinion. Wrong or right. So, I mean, in all fairness, I have heard from neighbors that do support the project. So it's not about that. It's,
Only thing is pictures. Used to be 100% sure.
And my feeling, if I may, is I'd actually like to ask the last meeting to have the original plans full to compare them. Okay, so I'm off tomorrow. I'd like some time in the office, sit down and look at them. I'm not comfortable making a decision right now.
This is, Tom's interviews before, so I don't know if you guys want to copy of that. So it's not really showing. It's not really visible. Or anything.
And should we read a summary into the record? Thank you, Chairman.
Is it part of the agenda anyhow? When you'll be available in public view?
Yeah, this is.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to take it over, I don't see the need. If public can read it at their pleasure, but it's up to you. It's up there.
Okay, let's read it if they're left.
It'll be available for them to read on the website, right?
Video,
The video.
yeah.
I don't know if the attachment was gonna be
But
available.
my point is there might be people here of interest in this project, and later we might deliberate on it and.
As you mentioned before, I got a staffing issue.
Okay, all right, yeah.
So if it's decided on today, it would be nice to have people have read what Tom said, is what I'm thinking. Unless,
My only thought would be, would you object to continuing it till the next hearing, bringing more pictures, just do this whole thing and a better one shot?
Yeah, in terms of, you know,
The more the better, just get them every angle going around the entire park.
I took these from the street, so this is all that, so this one I had to take down near the bridge. You can't see the north side unless you're on the bridge. Or that dock. And these, this is the sight line from the east, this is the sight line from the south. Southeast and southwest from the street, so those are the views that
So you-
anybody can see going 360 around the house.
So you get nothing coming up from the north. From like DPI.
You can't see the house until it
I
would
took
be,
pictures of it today.
yeah, this would be that's as soon as you can see, because you're coming by this hill. And then that would be it.
I like the plans to make sure none of the elevations are changing. I mean, there's a forward extension for the elevator, which I understand. And remember that, Lawrence, I know you're doing a great job, but to me, I'd like to look at the measurements just to get 100% sure that would make me comfortable.
It's up to you. It's your application.
I don't. No problem.
You've read Tom's report?
No, I haven't seen it before, I haven't heard about
No, you ought to hear it. He summarizes by saying the changes made to the building plans reflect practical revisions to match site conditions such as elevator location. The window changes and roof pitch changes do not add any substantial changes to the appropriateness of the overall design of the new building in the historic district. The overall bulk design, massing, window designs, and roof pitch do not substantially change the design of the building. The vast majority of changes are not visible from a common public view, nor do they change the aesthetic of the design. I walked around it today. I agree with Tom's assessment myself, just speaking individually.
Although there are some things like chimney, maybe an illustration error, So you read the summary, you haven't read the detail that shows there are
Oh,
some
we can read it all. I thought it would save us time by reading the summary, but I'm happy to read the whole thing.
I'm just saying that I think it's worth us taking. There's a line I use, we may agree or disagree. Some of these buildings have stood here for 200 years. I understand you have an issue with people who are trespassing, which is different, but I don't think 2 weeks is gonna kill anybody. Make sure we do our job
disagree.
properly.
I think 2 weeks is unnecessary.
Okay.
So,
I mean,
if I were in this position, I don't want to wait any longer. I've been building this thing for a long time. I want to continue my project.
I understand.
I mean, the question comes down, do I have to stand down contractors? You know, just out of
Scheduling.
sensible
passes,
logic.
passes. I think it's an unfair burden, but that's my opinion.
I
agree with Ted.
You know, I'd love to keep the project moving forward. Certainly, if you come to me and say, listen, I'd like to change this one detail, all open for that. You know, I do echo what the handbook says, where it's supposed to be, you know, harmonious to the nature, but not replicate the, you know, historical buildings. And so as much as it's supposed to be harmonious to what we did, we tried to really make sure, and I think this really illustrates it, you know, when you look at it from downtown, this, you can't tell if it's the office building or not. You know, we're really trying to make it, honestly, I just wanted it to go away, you know, in terms of the visible nature. But I'm not trying to compete against, you know, historic structures and trying to put something that's fitting, you know, in the neighborhood.
The problem, I just want to say though, is that if we vote in favor of this tonight, where we have another situation where someone presented something and they may have done it differently, and people are looking for a recourse to remove it or demolish it, we're now going to be stuck in a situation where we can't do anything for it. So
That's what is great precedent. Every situation is special, every situation is different.
I don't think he needs to stand out contractors, I just think bring some more photos. We can vote on it in 2 weeks. If you want to vote on it now, we can vote on it now.
I think you got asked.
No, we can, no, we can get through all that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know, should we hear the public first and then determine whether we continue on or not?
Sure. Anyone here from the public?
Opening for comment?
Yes.
This is comment time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't go to too many of these meetings. And he's thinking another one on the Stonington side. My name is Frank Bucchio. I've lived at 10 Fort Rachel Place right across the street for over 30 years. My wife Christine, who also lives here, has a home and been here for over 40 years. We're in favor of the design modification proposed at 11 Fort Rachel Place by Mr. Perry Lorenz. Specifically, we're interested with the west elevation view, which is the one we see. Is it okay if I click on?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, could you say your name, your last name,
Oh, Frank Bucchio,
and where do you live, Frank?
number 10 Fort Rachel Place. Sorry, no horse tonight. Yeah. Number 10 Fort Rachel. So we're interested mostly in this view, the stuff that we see. Mr. Lorenz has communicated well with us throughout the project construction. Our concerns are the introduction of the HVAC equipment and the revised plans on what I call the machinery space platform on the left side regarding the visual impact and noise impact. We met with Mr. Lorenz and he agreed to build some kind of fencing or enclosure to hide any machinery from street view and to mitigate any noise that may be created, possibly using some sound absorbing materials. We imagine a house this size probably needs bigger or larger HVAC and mechanical equipment than most houses in our street, and may generate more noise. Our side of the street is zoned residential. Our bedroom windows are about 100 feet away, actually exactly 125 feet away, I'm sorry, 115 feet away from the machinery space. And we often sleep with open windows in the spring and fall. Easterly winds are common. It's established that a sound environment no louder than 30 dBA per adjusted is needed for adequate sleeping environment. There's more specific architectural noise standards available, such as NCD codes. We don't know if potential noise issues in a residential zone come under the purview of the Historic District Commission. However, Mr. Lorenz agreed to work with us to minimize any HVAC system or machinery sounds, in addition to minimizing any visual impact. We're also in favor of landscape planners on the west elevation view. This will enable the addition of greenery to help replace some of those loss in construction of the home. And Mr. Lorenz has offered to work with us in the planting design. He also took us for a tour inside the house, showing the necessary interior changes that he detailed, which naturally rippled to the exterior design. Mr. Lorenz has always been ready to work with us and has communicated well with us, and we're in favor of this application. Thank you.
Anyone else have anything to say or against?
The file, the file, thing, is it all?
Got it on the table.
The file thing. So it's in place.
Okay.
So, just to echo, Frank talked about, it's important to us as well to be good neighbors and make sure we, approach them. So in the house design, one of the only things that, we could do is to try to mitigate where you would see a condensing unit, condenser or emergency generator. Because the house is visible from a few of the side entrances in this little raised alcove up here. And so that's the area that we would certainly be willing to support putting, we'd have to come back with a different application, because I don't have a fence on drawings. So I have to come back with a different application that put some kind of sound attenuating screen in. But I'm hoping that with sufficient landscaping that we achieve the goal, but if not, we certainly support trying to do what we need to do so we don't impact all this directly below. So see if we can sense it to that, we don't cause any perceptions. And so the rearrangement of some of the windows, as I mentioned, was in moving some of the areas of structure, for the elevator and stairwell and the like. Certainly was the catalyst to most all of this, not every single item. That's what it would be.
Again, I just think some more photos and I think some detail information on the stuff that's being used. Because now that I didn't even realize the HVAC stuff, so we need to build up those size. Which in the past, we have a lot of things to go forward. We have that stuff. I don't have any problems with it. I think we just do the details. Up to you.
I agree. The other option with the equipment is he doesn't have it there yet. It's construction since it technically come back in for approval. That's separate from it, just the equipment.
I'm just not sure why. I got a path of least resistance here. Bring the photos, bring the specs, bring the plot plan.
And it's in our handbook, what he's asking for, it's not exactly outside the handbook.
How many photos is enough? You could ask for photos for the next 2 years. Good. And I think that probably you should take a quick continuance because it looks to me like you're not gonna get a vote today.
So we'll do a continuance. I will try to add some additional photos. Happy to give anybody in the commission a tour. So they can see it person. Happy to do that.
Just get the specs with stuff, some additional photos, let's get everything in the file, we'll give them I wouldn't stop it, I would just.
It's what's intended as a Bosch, you know.
Just-
that's the
One page thing, just so it's in there, and then no one can ever say you. put it in.
emergency generator.
Yeah.
Yep, so.
I think all that stuff's great, I just wish you'd put it in here.
Yeah, no, it was on the, well, at the time I submitted this, I didn't even own the property. So the full design wasn't completed at that point. Of this, you know. So, you know, part of it's involved over the last 2 years.
And Mr. Ryan, just so you understand my position, everything I say, actually, like, I don't see a problem, I just, I don't care, I just follow the steps.
Understood. So we'll do continuance. And,
With regards to the first Tuesday in, no, it's 2 weeks, yeah, there's another 21st.
No, you just bring them back, yeah. There's specs on the windows, specs on the condensations.
This town has all the specs on the windows. This is the material, I think we submitted a material appropriateness report. I gotta go back to my memory. We submitted something on all that stuff. I'm over some of the materials. I believe the town already has approved. You know, send us a letter saying sure they don't. They met the requirements. There's a letter we received that the material was.
Not after this quarter.
Yeah.
Maybe get them.
You want this to be third, Karen?
Can I ask, how long did the project been going on?
Started, from Rocker site or what,
From original break and move ground,
breaking it
from approval from the,
we started,
This was approved.
November of,
Start old stuff.
Yeah.
November of last year. So, because we started, you know, clearing, doing some rock on the stages in so November.
Foundation until last summer.
Yeah, but the foundation started this past June.
Yeah.
just one, is. This is illogical. Okay. If he presented those plans tonight, would he have a problem?
Yes, because he doesn't have the plans and specs, or he doesn't have specs in the equipment.
He doesn't have specs on the equipment.
Correct.
So did he have specs originally,
Whether it wasn't this,
but it was approved?
No.
It was approved without the,
without the equipment. And if he submitted the original ones with the window sizes, he's got new ones with different window sizes. The whole reason. I think it's not doing this, but why not?
Can I ask you to speak up a little bit?
Sure.
louder?
The whole reason why we do this isn't. I build for a living, so I understand, and I don't have any problems against it. But if we don't hold him to the same standard we hold other people to. When there's minor changes and modifications that may be minor in your eyes and may be huge in the neighbor's eyes. Or whoever complained about this originally. That's why it came back here. We end up in these type of problems or other problems when people have things that are done that now some commission members want them to tear out, others don't. Or you have situations where you have things that went up that shouldn't have gone up. It's
so specs on condenser size.
Yeah.
Is an issue.
Yeah.
So.
And it's not that we would say no if it was 50 feet tall, maybe we wouldn't, I don't know, whatever.
But the original plans didn't have the spec.
They didn't have even the equipment on there
Okay, so why wasn't that question initially?
because it wasn't visible from a public way. Maybe he was hiding it, maybe it was gonna be around some screening that was shown on there, I don't know.
it didn't get raised.
It's illogical from a layman's point of view. This has gone on way too long. You know, this is just ridiculous. From my point of view. It's just.
Anyone else?
Noted.
The place looks great. We did a beautiful job. And he's gotta come back. It just mind boggling, really, mind boggling. It really is.
Appreciate your feedback.
From a public point of view, from my point of view. It's just unbelievable.
The only thing I'd say, there's no benefit in me making this kind of investment to where everybody's not gonna be happy or better the, neighborhood. That would be foolish, right? So there's no upside for me trying to do anything wrong. I'm only trying to do what's right. And I guess where I want to foul is my assumption of what I thought was okay. I've worked with a lot of commissions, and whether you move a window or you change a window size slightly, that typically never raised to the point of going back to certificate of appropriateness. But in this particular town, if that's the procedure, then that's what we'll do.
Commissioner, I'm just speaking for myself. Your neighbors all support it. It looks great to me. I don't think you're trying to pull a fast one. I actually, 99.99% sure you're not, and to be very clear, but it's like Eric said, and it's my feeling the same. And we can't send the clock back. There's been other projects that odd things have happened because we didn't follow the procedure. And I'm just a stick on by the procedure. I think it protects everybody, protects you, protects the neighbors, protects the town, protects everybody. And to me, that's important. That's my opinion.
Well, no one's saying, I'm not talking, like, no one's saying you're stop, no one's gonna do anything, just come back with the stuff and put it in the file, we vote on it. And you move on. That's
It's time.
but it's no time, because he doesn't stop. He doesn't do anything, he just comes back in 2 weeks, he submits the stuff, and then in the future, when someone else comes with something else. And it wasn't in the file, and the neighbors come and complain about it, we can say, wasn't in the file, that wasn't done
So
right.
could he get approval based on getting the specs to you and all that? Just give him approval based on getting those.
Why doesn't he just follow the rules and come back in 2 weeks and he gets the approval in 2 weeks?
I think what the miss thing is, he's able to continue on right now, or no?
Yeah, do whatever he wants, yeah.
So he can continue on, he just has to get the paperwork and.
That's
the files.
Happy to do
So
that.
that no one ever down the road can say he did something that we didn't approve. Right, that's it.
Can I ask the commission a question?
Yeah, I have a question too.
So Frank wants me to screen this, right? So if I show you the equipment, do I also show you at the same time a potential concept for screening it? Because I haven't done the engineering behind, if we need to do sound damping, I have to do engineering that would.
If you're gonna come back at that point for the fencing anyways, I would just come.
I could do it as a separate application.
Yes.
Okay, so you would approve the equipment pending some kind of screening.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, because I don't even know what that would be yet.
So he's coming, I'm confused, so I think he's coming back to get the equipment approved, because we haven't seen it. So he needs to get the equipment approved, that could be separate from what he showed us today, yeah. What did he not show us today that we need to see?
We don't have the size of the windows.
Size of the window.
And we don't have the materials to make anything. We just have, we have 4 elevations and a couple of pictures.
And Tom's report actually says there's
Window dimension.
If you allow this, if you allow this way of doing this to go forward, no one can ever complain about something that anyone did ever again.
Because there wasn't a detail to
Correct.
say you didn't do it,
Correct.
like you said.
Then forget it at that point. Just forget it.
I'm just trying to understand.
No, I know. I'm frustrated with the fact that all we're doing is we're just asking for the same information that we've asked everybody. That's simple. So that we can vote, approve it, move on with life, and no one can ever come back and try to appeal it, sue you, sue us, sue whatever, that's it. That's simple.
All right, again,
It's not about the thing. I think the thing's
Yeah,
great.
okay.
I've always said this.
if you want it for the record, I can. I guess, I may call. And just make sure I got everything that the board's.
Tom's here.
Whoever.
Yeah.
I just wanna make sure I come back with everything I.
Get it in.
The only changes you have are some air conditioning, let's just get the specs on it. And the windows, just even the buy sheet when you want them, whatever.
Yeah, no, I'll get you the.
That's it.
Yeah, I have them.
Yeah, and then submit it with those plans, everyone votes and we all.
See.
Thank you.
All right. HTC 23-1262 West Main Street, Kevin Sherwood. Advanced group applicant.
Hi.
Right, great.
Secretary.
Okay. My name is Bonnie Hinton. I'm here from a grant advance group and we are replacing 6 windows with carbon elevated windows. The same exact size that are there, wood, same growth pattern, same color.
You have.
You have a spot where the house is.
Obviously, I'm filling in for somebody, so I was asked the last minute. Okay, so this is the house. It's right across the street from Advanced Group and next to the,
Which was this?
yeah, the witch shutter house.
Yep.
So it's that house.
Right next to the statue.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. So we're replacing the 2 front windows in the front. And then, this is our application. So. And we're replacing the 2 windows on the side that's next to the statue. And then these 2 windows upstairs. So there's 6 total windows.
Okay, and the grill patterns aren't changing, you're just going to Marvin elevate.
Yeah, we're going to Marvin Elevate. So we're doing the same exact grill pattern.
Can I just see it?
Yeah, of course.
Simulate light with the stage first, so it'll look like this there, okay?
That's it.
That's all.
That's it.
Nice and easy.
So, she has the specs.
Yes.
She has the photos. We will now move forward.
Has everything that's on that check sheet. Okay.
That makes sense?
And they're not installed yet.
Great.
Okay.
Anything else?
No,
Thank you.
well,
Does anyone in the public have anything to say for this application? Anyone against this application? All right, HBC 23-02 is closed. Okay. You can say for the.
There the vote, you can watch it on YouTube tomorrow.
I know how to watch it on YouTube, and I don't need that, right?
No.
Okay. I'll do that.
Okay, so
Right, so I want to move, we continue
yeah, we gotta do that. HCC
HCC
23.
23-01.
A second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, HCC 23-01 is continued.
Yes.
So we're gonna close the public hearing. I guess we'll go to consideration of public hearings, which is just HTC 23-02, what we just saw. So we have any comments or motions?
I make a motion to approve. I think it's very consistent with what exists. It'll be exactly the same, we're just changing window, so I make a motion to approve.
I will second that. Let everything.
And everything's in the file.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
HCC 23-02 is in three.
It's going on.
Do you have any pre-applications?
Yeah, a couple. I'll be back in a minute.
Yep. Why don't we actually recess for a few minutes? You need a couple of minutes. So I make a motion to recess for 10 minutes.
Yeah, we'll recess on that.
Yeah.
Peter, how about you? Would you like something to drink?
Yeah, I'm good.
Bag of potato chips? Okay.
And beef jerky earlier.
There you go.
Actually, yeah, you want to grab.
Everyone, we're gonna start this back up at 8:06. Sure. Uh,
Public comment for applications.
Yes. All right, Mr. Wheeler, are you here?
Good evening, I'm Norton Wheeler, Mystic River Building Company, and I'm the agent for Jill Ullery, who is the owner of the property at 41 Pearl Street, Mystic. Which is a site property.
You just go that way, just put it there on the screen.
So we are working on plans to do some additional renovations to the house. The woman that owns the house recently purchased the house, has moved in and, found a few things inadequate, such as the heating system. So the first thing that she has to do is to install a gas fireplace in the parlor living room. I do have an application here that I'll present this evening, but I wanted to first ask permission, and I also need to ask for forgiveness, because we had an issue where we went to the town hall and I made an application to install this gas fireplace. When I did, staff had suggested that it may need HDC approval. At that time, the staff had asked, had gone and spoken with Suzanne Arini, who in looking at what in our permit application felt that we did not need HDC approval. I left and went on vacation, and while I was away, I got an email that stated that Pete had looked at it and decided that it should go before HDC. Unfortunately, I put it on my work schedule with my employees, and we had installed the stove prior to letting Tom's know that needed to go through. I had not received my permit, obviously, but because of the fact that when I applied for the permit, I was told that it didn't need to go to HDC. I know that the gas company had also put in a permit application for to hook up the gas for the stove, and so we jumped the gun and we installed the stove with a sidewall vent, which I know that Peter Springsteel had come before the commission 2 weeks ago, and I don't know what he had presented, but I know that he had asked about it. So I brought picture of the
Just cut it out. Sure. What do we do? Just now, because it's not a pre-app. Just trying to get it. She was on a pre-app right now. I think you wanted him to come back with some sort of. Peter said he was back with a full plan for the house. Didn't get the flying.
Right. Yeah, he hasn't completed a plan for the home for the other renovations that we want to do.
Right.
Yeah, he hasn't completed that. So this is solely for this gas stove installation.
Okay, but we can't vote on it.
I understand that.
So you just want to, okay.
Yeah, so I just want to tell you and what our intention is and or what we've done, and hopes that I can, convince the commission that what we've done is appropriate, which I believe that it is. So this is a photograph of the front of the house. These are two photographs of the home that show the vent installed on the sidewalk. I've also taken a picture of 4 other homes, all in the historic commission and all on Pearl Street, that all have similar installations. they're all,
So that's it there.
and they're all also on the side wall, also visible from the street, but not obviously in the front of the house. This is a small gas stove that's installed in the very front corner of the house. It's a zero clearance stove, so it's actually about 6 inches away from the interior walls in the front corner. Which based on the interior layout of the house, it's pretty much the only real spot to put it in the living room. So again, I apologize for the fact that we jumped the gun. I'm ready to submit the application and hoping that the commission will see fit to allow us to fill in the location.
My other question, so Peter said that they were gonna redesign it with the redesign, so is that not?
Well, what Peter came back and he said that the suggestion was that to vent it out to the roof. And because of the location of where it's going on the house, you'd be adding a stainless steel chimney, at the very front corner of the house, which I think would be a lot, I think that it would be much more inappropriate for the historic district than the vent that we've installed, which is, it's installed behind the lilac bush, for 9 months out of the year, you won't be able to see it at all. That's not visible from the street in front of the house.
Okay, so I'm just curious of, so when he redesigns it, you're not gonna change it, and it's staying there forever?
Well, we're not saying that. I'm saying that we've already installed it. We're asking for the commission to look at it and I'm hoping that you would find it acceptable to leave the installation the way that it is rather than moving it to a different location, especially considering that, we found, in 15 minutes, I found 4 other vents that are very similar on the same street that are all in the historic commission. I don't know whether any of them were permitted or any of them went before HDC. But I do know that, the installation that we did, I think, is a quality job of an installation as well. And in my opinion, doesn't appear to be the case. So I'm prepared to submit the application and let the commission discuss it and vote on it next week for the next meeting.
Is there, you guys, is there anything that can be done to make it look not so bad in its current position, or is it or not? I mean, I don't have a lot of experience. I'm the new guy on staff.
And I'm not a builder like these guys, so I'd defer to them.
It's metal.
Yes. And the siding is metal as well. The siding is aluminum siding.
Really?
The intention, part of our plan that we will be presenting in the near future is a window replacement and siding replacement.
And to your point, I did have a resident contact now, so it's Peter presented this, showing that these things are all over the area, but there's also unpermitted AC units all over the place too. So I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I don't think,
Well, I don't
because
know whether-
unpermitted work is gone and kind of slid through the cracks, so it's okay to continue it. That's, I understand what you're saying, that you're not the only
I mean,
guy.
I don't know whether the other installations were permitted or not. They're saying that they're all visible from the street. They're all, on Pearl Street. I didn't, go around the entire historic commission. I could probably find 20 of them. But
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. My only thing on the last Peter, I just said if he's gonna redesign the whole thing anyways, why can't we like temporarily approve it? Why approve it and then change it?
Yeah, I don't think that. Now, did you even have a permit? But then I thought Peter said nothing, none of the 3 permitted. Is that true?
We applied for a permit. We did not receive the permit because Peter determined that he felt that it should go before the commission.
Right, but it was installed with no building permit nor an HDC approval, so it's completely unpermitted. Is that
That's
correct?
correct. It was
Okay.
installed without permit. But well, we expected.
Shouldn't do work
without a permit.
That's understood and that's not typical for us, obviously. But we felt that it was it was just basically a simple thing, kind of like, we go and apply for a roof permit. There's not a lot that would report, that it's going to get shot down. So, normally we would have the permit in the mail 2 or 3 days later. And, so that's, what we had expected, and unfortunately, my guys jumped the gun and ran and grabbed the stove from Preston Trading Post and got it installed. The woman who just moved here is, freezing in her new house and asked us to, install it so that she could, get warm.
I'm sure that. So it's Preston Trading Post, maybe wait 2 weeks for my stove.
Well, unfortunately, they had one sitting on the floor.
Yeah, same with mine. I still had to wait 2 weeks to get it dropped off.
We had just installed one in the house, but previous to that, so.
So this is fine. Anything else?
Yeah, any advice?
I don't think it's, I think it's fine. I just not think it's.
Yeah, I don't think it's a material change.
I'm supposed to tell you what we're gonna say in the future, but
Understood.
I mean, I don't think we're trying to encourage those. On that hand, but on the other hand, I don't think. Speaking for myself, it's still in my.
If the commission feels that way, does it need to go, by application?
Yes, you still have to go through the process.
Okay, very good. Then I will submit the application tonight. And, I'll be back.
With your supporting.
I'm sorry.
Submitted with the supporting.
All
materials. So
supporting
what, Thursday-
materials.
he's still on the Thursday morning schedule. Thank you.
Thanks. I have the,
Yeah, chief application.
yeah, I do actually, the owner hasn't signed it. Let me get a signature. I'll drop it off. And, you like? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hopefully I can do this. So. I want to show what we built on the property.
Name of that,
27 West District Alley.
near neighbor.
Oh, just the garage.
Yes.
The blue house, yeah.
So this is the additional dwelling that we built. And in the process of building. We were ordering windows and this window. Was impossible to get. They weren't giving us, they weren't gonna give us any indication of when. we might have these. So what we have to do on the fly. We ordered another one of these. So it's the exact same window as this. So all of these windows are all the same.
Are those utilities facing West Mystic Avenue?
Yes. Yeah, this is the west view.
So when you come back with an application for the window, you're gonna come in with the HVAC.
I can, yeah.
That'd be a good idea.
Yeah, and then, I mean, the landscaping is finished. So that's all gonna be good. With plantings. Yeah, I just that specs on the HVAC
You
stage.
should still screen it though.
Yeah,
With screen or something.
yeah, but we're gonna plant 6 foot.
I mean,
by
Planning, we're not allowed to come to the weekend.
Okay, so you need actual.
You should screen it like something, yeah.
Like the
Lattice, like the snapper, or anything, that's something together. But make sure you leave the clearances.
So should we put that on the outside of the arborvitae's or on the inside?
Probably on the inside, so the trees that are died or they're cut down.
Yeah.
We see them like that. But as far as the window goes, I. Almost the exact same window. It's just.
Yeah, it's the exact same window. It's just. They weren't telling us anything. They didn't even, I don't think they knew how to build.
Yeah.
Or how to manufacture.
You're gonna put the whole thing on top.
The cupola.
Yeah.
We're. In plant.
4 years.
Yeah, I think it was, yeah. We're just trying to finish everything else.
Yeah, it's just that, I mean.
And I'll get you the specs on the HVAC.
Just just bring the specs again on that window, just so they're in the.
Yeah.
So what you're gonna do for serrating and then the specs of the AC. Okay.
So just do another application.
Just say modify. Just.
Yeah.
Just-
Okay, great. All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
They're not really well. Looks good.
Thanks.
Mr. Todd, ready?
Okay, I'll recuse myself from the commission here.
Am I doing
Sure.
it? You want to? I can hold on.
All right.
Want a big chair?
My name is Todd Brady. I'm here on for 12 Water Street. It's Peter Fine, who is the owner of the new restaurant that's going into Factory Square. So these are some revisions to the original plans that were approved. None of this work has been completed or even started on.
Thank you, so we appreciate that.
And I'm just gonna quick read through this, my application, haven't filed it yet. We came for a preliminary just because, we weren't quite ready to submit, and because I will be away 2 weeks from now, so I thought I'd let Peter sit in and watch this so he can attempt to replicate what I talked about then. So we're modifying the certificate of appropriateness number 2364, and the changes involve modifying the exterior bar location, modifying the walk-in cooler, removing the window in the courtyard pizza oven, modifying the window door configuration between the indoor and outdoor bar, eliminating the window on the north wall and leave as is, eliminate the roof overhang at the front, replace with wood frame canopy with translucent polycarbonate panels, and a new wood frame shed roof at the service station. So, like getting all of this, huh? There we go. These are just pictures of the actual property. This is obviously the view from Water Street. This is the backyard view. This is all pre-existing, as was the view of the courtyard looking back at the rear of the property. And this is the view looking across the north at the south side of Bizetta, which adjoins and abuts this work. This is the existing site plan before any work was done. So that this is the area of the courtyard, and this is the building that's being renovated. This is the approved site plan. And what's happening here is this is being modified. So what I'm showing you is I'm showing you what was approved, the layout of the walkways and everything else, and the new addition, it's all kitchen, this area here. And so what's happened is that among the modifications is that there are new, the cooler size has been modified so that the new cooler is bigger than the old one. I'll get you the dimensions come up later on, and that has caused this path to have to be moved over a little bit this way. And the other thing that's occurring is that, and I'll show you this later, is that there was a large canopy off the back of the building. Decision is made to actually cover this portion of the patio, and that has necessitated the removal of the canopy, because in order to build a new canopy, we had to get up higher to the top of the existing roof structure, or else the canopy on the slope would have come down too low by the time we got to the foundation. The existing, this is probably not that relevant, but this is the existing footprint. This is prior talks over here, and this is the new, what is the Milestone Restaurant, and this is where the addition is being constructed. This is the approved, what was approved already. This is the addition. This is the old cooler location and the service station and the patio. So this drawing. You can see what's clouded here, you see some of the changes, some of these. May or may not be that relevant, but there was a window right here into what's the pizza oven, that window's been eliminated. The rear window configuration, which I show you in the elevations, this is the entry door, this is the area here has been reconfigured, and what's happened is that the bar. Outside bar. Previously here, it's now been moved to here and is now, and the whole interior layout has been changed, so the new bar. Now extends when the windows are open to the outside area of the courtyard.
But we can't see it, so why do we? Go a public way,
Well, you can see, for example, this window.
you can't, do that walkway, but that's not public,
It's considered a public.
so the whole corridor is public.
The courtyard is considered a public way. Always has been in all our previous approvals.
It's a arteries. Well, but
If
the
the
public way
public-
to me, the street or a walk, they're like it's not, like town property.
That's what I thought 20 years ago, so I attended it, to start commission, meeting, and they told me that everything's a public way.
I don't think so.
Um,
I think it's your private property, if you want to do it.
Well,
But
I
if you wanna-
appreciate your comment, but that hasn't been the way it's been handled in the past. So, so anyway, so that window's being eliminated, this window's being reconfigured. The bar configuration is probably, you're right, not that relevant to this, but we're just trying to show everything that's being changed. This is the approved configuration looking at the north side of the building. This is an old loading dock door. As I'll show in the next drawing, the decision is made to eliminate this window completely and leave the loading dock door, which is in place now, in place and not changing. And that's partly a decision, Peter, that he felt there was too much light coming into the restaurant. But just too much light coming. We get a lot of light from the garage doors. So, and it also was messing up your interior banquet, wasn't it? So,
Interior banquet,
banquet,
opening can,
seating,
yeah.
this is the window into the, that showed you the pizza oven that's now gone. So if you look at that drawing. And you see this is the existing opening, and what's being removed here is this is the old canopy we were gonna put in. Which is being removed here, and it's also comes out as in this direction here. The other thing that's being added is there's a new roof over the top of the service, outside service station. There's some more detail on that as we go. And as I said, what happened is that this roof is now the new roof, and I got a section of that. It's now going to start up at the top of the existing kitchen roof to provide more headroom for the covered patio.
This is in the courtyard, looking at the rear of the building. then?
This is looking at the north side of the building. So you walk in the courtyard there
And turned around and
and look back this way. So Bizette is back over here.
So that's basically, if you
Barley heads
take
over
that
that
first,
On the other side.
right, that's if you take that first right off of Water Street and the Factory Square, right, that
Yeah,
first
that-
driveway, yeah.
Bizette is right, it is right back.
So that's over here.
So which way is Barley? That way?
Well, no, Bizette is right, it's right.
Barley head, no?
Barley Head is over.
And because that was over here.
Oh, Bizette, I'm sorry, I was thinking of Firehouse.
Yeah, where's?
That's
Firehouse is right on the other side.
Yes.
Sorry, Bizette is over there.
So that's the door you see in the alley, when you're walking. in
That's
the
where
alley.
you see me at. See?
Oh, that one, yeah, now I know that door.
I just still don't understand why. It's like, listen, it's private property, it's his property. If he wants to shut the place down, you sit there by yourself, and the rest of his life, you can do that, it's not public. I'm serious, that stuff, okay, but the stuff in the back.
I don't disagree with you. I think
Your property.
if they've had him do it for 20 years and he's willing to do it, then
Okay.
Well, it's an interesting argument because one of the issues in fire taxes, talked to Peter about is that he's forced to go back inside at 10 o'clock at night. But that's in our interior courtyard. You can make the same argument that, you know, Why do we have to do that?
That's a zoning use thing.
There is no noise.
There's another problem.
There is a drive.
Well, not next to the sun. If there is, that's in the last year.
It was with the zoning rewrite. So
They put a noise ordinance in.
Yeah.
Right, but anyway,
it's a-
but I always.
Yeah.
But I always say too, some people ask about what about the tenants at Factory Square, and. When we rent these apartments, we sell them, hey, there are restaurants in the square yard.
Yeah.
It's noisy, if it's an issue, get an apartment on the north side if you can, but otherwise. And a lot of people love that kind of thing, and there's certain people who. Want to tolerate it.
I'm not just listening to anything wrong with the saying.
Yeah, I hear you, Aaron. Yeah. So this again is there is no roof on the old one. That's just, yeah. Okay.
What's the stuff look like that people would see if they did walk back there and it was public? I mean.
They would
not
see all of
bricks, right, it's siding. I guess I.
They'd
didn't
see
know.
the surround, they'd see the corrugated metal surround on the kitchen addition. And they see the various planters and the wrap around the coolers, which is detailed and approved with the fire. On it. I mean, you're gonna see,
You're gonna see,
no, you're gonna see,
oh, you're gonna see it,
See the
okay, I
whole-
thought you were gonna degrade.
yeah, you'll see the whole thing. So this is just showing you the doors. And so this is this is the original one, see, this was the extended roof line, that came over the courtyard with the skylights. Just removed, gone, because we couldn't configure the new roof structure. And one of the reasons we're doing this is again, this issue about whether you're inside or you're outside. And how late you can stay open. I mean, Gary says it is significantly affected his work.
I'm sure it is.
At prior times. So this was as was. And so this is the new frame. It's wood timber with translucent polycarbonate corrugated roofing over top, like I said, the photograph. Later. And all of this mechanical equipment is unchanged. This is the old canopy roof that's being removed. And these windows are being reconfigured, the window and door arrangements being reconfigured. We have to get the detail on this window. Because I keep telling Peter that no one can build this window. As shown, but we'll see. So this is what the wooden structure will look like. This is another restaurant, except that it will be continuous, open and clear. I mean, one of the big issues that we've been looking at is too much light or not enough light, and because this entire restaurant is on the north side of Friar Tuck's, and also we're in a courtyard, so the sun sets pretty early at Factory Square. So that's why we wanted, this is not a translucent, clear corrugated metal roof. It's slightly obscured, but we're gonna go with it. And these are basically the key structure. This is basically looking at the elevation of the what is the south elevation of the building. Now I'm over on the Friar Tuck side, near the coffee place, looking
Right.
back at the building.
Right.
And the big difference here, this is what was approved, and the new one shows the new roof structure that comes out over the service station, which is how. Other than that, it's as was. This is the actual interior layout and shows the kitchen and everything in the outside courtyard. This is showing where the bar was removed. Or it's shown as the bar there, but now, so when you go to the next drawing. Shows the new bar location. This is interior to the restaurant here. This is the window that's been on. So those are all the things that are. So it's a reasonable amount of changes to the structure, which fortunately. Caught before we did. How about that? It's a little bit of a public way, according to the chairman of the commission, which is thank you for the comment, but we'll. So the plan hopefully is to come back and it's to file on Thursday. And then Peter will have to be in my stead unless we can get Dave back and say they come to the article.
It's pretty self.
I am able to articulate it, I don't know if I can do it as well as Tom, but.
I can probably do that. At least roll and say he said it.
Usually negative.
Thank you.
No, I have no question.
Thank you, Mr. Brady. Thank you, gentlemen. I think some of these other ones. Is there anyone else with the application? Just you want to come up? You're down. Are you here for pre-app too? Yeah. Oh, okay.
My friend,
What was your last name?
Uriel,
Okay, Mr. or Mr. Grant. Well,
sure. This is Vicky, friends, we live on 51 Cliff Street in Mystic, in this house. Right here. And we're looking to do is put on a storm door, it is, this is cold, it's on the north side. Door is clear view.
what street? I'm sorry, what street?
51 Cliff Street, CLIF.
It was a new house that was approved by the historic district maybe 10 years ago.
Yes,
Right in the corner there.
These ones just don't.
just want a storm door, it's gonna be what?
Be any color you want.
No
jurisdiction over color.
What did you say?
We don't get jurisdiction over color.
Oh, what color, yeah, yeah.
Can be pink.
I have even storm doors, I'm not sure.
Storm windows, we don't have jurisdiction. Do we have jurisdiction over storm doors, Peter?
So, people tell me nobody knew. I have a house, I also have a house on Pearl Street, and actually, two storm doors on the front of it, and one in the back, same ones, and
There's storm doors everywhere, so I would just put your application in.
well, they were on.
I'm not sure we did. I recommended.
I would just do it. 'Cause if it's in,
Be safe.
it's approved.
Then we move on, you're good.
So we go to just the building department and just say, you want an application for.
Just this one. Right?
I filled this out smooth.
Yeah.
You already did.
Oh, yeah.
And so you'll be on the agenda next 2 weeks from now.
Oh, I
And we can vote.
Today.
Well, this is preliminary. Not it.
But just bring that back, and this back.
Yeah, all right.
Turn it.
That's it.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
It's a practice session.
Yeah.
The earlier, so earlier today, that's the official version and that's what you'll do next.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jot that down.
What's it there, Peter?
we read our manual.
Don't go-
I'm not drinking that.
They're not.
Storm windows are on by gutters and leaders.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good, that's. I'm sure that you didn't come back.
I'm sorry, what was your last name?
Uriel, Mike Uriel, 29. Sure. I actually don't have. This I put an outdoor patio, behind the house. Look about sketchy out there. Of the patio. There's some photos of that house.
How high is the patio off the grass?
It's gonna be level, well, the backyard slopes, so it's gonna be flush to the ground and then.
16 inches. 30. 30 might not need to be.
It's at
Oh.
grade, you don't need, right?
It starts off at grade, but I think we're down towards the water.
That still stays in. The
I mean,
grass stuff.
yeah, the wall will come up maybe to less than 5. Plus it tapers out into the yard. Probably, inches, so on. 20 inches.
I thought it was 16. Remember Heather?
You know, there's one interest.
We did use this high. For regulator activities, the one on Saturday, something.
Did you talk to Tom?
Yeah, who said you should come here?
Just.
Well, I emailed Tom, but I didn't give him a lot of specifics.
Oh,
I
okay.
just said we're doing out on patio. So, unfortunately, I mean, you know, you're in this work.
But if the patio is flush with the grass,
Yeah.
I know for sure you don't. Right.
But
It's,
because his grade slopes, he's gonna be. Right, so we gotta see what that height is.
yeah, these pockets.
Existing grade, but everything existing. grade.
All right,
Residential patios and terraces on grade are not regulated.
so it's above grade, so it's regulated.
I guess you could argue that either way. Oh, goodness.
I just take the grass and.
I got to bring a lot.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Well,
Well, let's put it this way. If you fill out an application and you submit this information, then it's a big deal, you come back. in 2 weeks. No.
yeah, I just, you know,
Yeah.
I like to keep it this way.
Just take a list of materials, and your stuff.
And make sure you have the picture of the house, the map, everything. that's-
Yeah, so let me just go over, I mean, I got street views. I've got examples of what the look like, stamp concrete. So I need anything else to submit. This is pretty full package.
You should have a location map, you know, a GIS map.
Oh,
Where the house
would
is.
Google Maps work or something like that? And
The
it's-
town's GIS mapping, says you go to the town of Groton website. You put in your address and produce, it will show all the adjoining lots.
And just draw it on.
You just draw it on there?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So for submitting this, it's all like online.
And none of that unfortunately needs to get emailed out.
Either that, you can fill it out tonight, submit it all now.
Wait until it's a GIS map and.
They have to have by Thursday, we're on that.
Or scan it and email.
Okay, no, this I'll scan to Tom.
With all your company.
With all, yeah,
With every,
I would Google our handbook and have a list of meeting and get that application, just make sure it's complete.
okay.
yeah, there's a checklist.
Or yeah, you can find out online, the list, the checklist.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks. Do you have any public communications?
I want to ask if anyone in the audience is here for a pre-app.
Oh, right.
So we have plenty of people out there.
If anyone's in the audience for a pre-app, can you raise your hand in the virtual way?
That's like an application.
Pre-application.
Pre-approval.
For
We used to have mics. It worked better. Just didn't want it. Okay. Any public communications?
I received public communications, and I think that's like a little here on the, that'd be new business or would that be public communications? Okay.
Anyway, you're talking about probably business.
Okay.
Board.
Okay, so no public communications.
Yeah, public commission would something brought in for us to. submit.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no.
All right, approval.
Oh, wait, hang on. How about Anne Marie, is that new business, old business?
It's all this.
Okay. Sorry, Anne Marie.
Approval of minutes from January 17th.
Yeah, I've got 3 amendments I'd like to propose. Where are the minutes? I've got them here so much. Hold on a second. They're pretty minor. The first one is the, I can show them on the screen if you want, Peter, or just talk you guys through them. Maybe so the record reflects it a little bit better. So that's the minutes we're about to approve. I got to flip around this way for you guys. Point number 1 is all the names of who we are need updating. You're the chair, Eric, not the vice chair, you know. As an example. Well, Bill's not an alternate, so the corrections to the. Who the officers are. Okay, so far, that's one, then I thought it was Molly Leibowitz to talk to us about the hot dog stand. But if she signed in as Lana, then I don't know if it matters that much, but. That's, I think getting the person's name right is probably a good idea. Okay, so far?
Yep.
And then, and this guy. In that second paragraph, it said staff. I can't read it. Said temporarily. And doesn't. That doesn't pull under thing, it doesn't fall, obviously. So. That's it. That's it. So I would make a motion that we approve the minutes as amended.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thanks. Yeah. Motion's approved. Old business? Would you like to come up?
One thing. I'm required to watch them, there's in the handle. There's an exception.
Yeah, I just saw that.
It's one of the.
I was gonna figure it out.
It's an exception.
Yeah, it's exact.
Yeah.
I only saw the board.
Catch that guy.
We'll talk.
Yeah.
I figured you thought.
Let's storm. Storm goes somewhere goes.
I missed all that. The storm doors are done.
Yeah. Caught it, it was right next to the
There's like a
patio.
section in the handbook that says what's it there.
Yeah,
And then,
not regulated.
right,
Okay. What would you like to do?
oh, I never see you here.
We take that in the nicest way possible.
No, actually, I'm gonna fix it. But, we're gonna do ticket. So it's not seen on the either way. Alright, and the only reason we didn't come in January is because we thought in December we didn't have to come back. So once we came into compliance.
Sure.
So I just want to put that out there.
Just send an email in with that, and maybe some pictures, so just what's in this swapped out.
You're using nine fence again?
Yeah.
Yeah, just have him send them pictures, like.
Yeah, he's not, yeah. It's a ticket.
You're gonna use the same stuff you already have,
Yeah, pretty much.
just extend, just change, swap out the panels.
We're swapping out the chain link and putting in pivots.
So go back to what we think we're supposed to do, or you think we're supposed to do. Okay, great, thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
Very nice.
I'm concerned. So I just want to make sure that you identify where exactly you're putting these.
Yeah.
But I guess that's gonna become part of the record, so that. I'm concerned that there might be other parts of the fence that somebody else might think is visible and bring you back here. And I think you need to be done.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm done.
It's the whole idea of visibility gotten me thinking about it a lot. You get up binoculars, you can see a lot of things. And I've noticed there's a lot of other chain fences in the district. So we're ameliorating, and I'm very, very good at it to try to rectify the situation. But I want you to then be secure in that you're done, and that, so I'd be really explicit about where you're putting the tickets, and that that's acceptable. And that that's gonna make you secure and not have to worry about another person complaining about that they can see another 1 foot of the fence if they look really hard.
Right. I
You
appreciate
see what
that.
I'm getting
Yep,
at?
absolutely.
So-
May I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
I like Ed says, would it be acceptable to say,
4 sections, 5 sections.
well, no, let's say within a period of time, whether you need 2 weeks or a month, just send us something that says, hey, these are the sections. This is where a picture, and I'm gonna do it in this period of time, so. And then
Well,
everybody,
given, well, I'm not sure when the period of time is gonna be.
I know, within a year, within 6 months, something like that. I think that way everything, it covers all the bases. Does everybody agree?
Well, yeah, I'm just really hot, I'm sorry, I'm hot on it, but I want. My desire is so that, we won't have a discussion about how visible they are anymore.
Right.
Right,
I
so
agree.
that there's a judgment in that, and that the judgment's different depending on who you talk to. And so I want us to come to some agreement on this is hidden enough or visible enough to satisfy the commission, and that you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Right. I agree.
So, yeah. So whatever that is, you know, I want, I mean, frankly, I don't think you have to do anything, but I'm pleased that you're trying to be a great neighbor and rectify something. It turned out a little different than we all thought, right?
Right.
So that's why you're here, so I really appreciate it.
It's a good point, because you don't want someone complaining again that you took out
There won't
four.
be any other people. I mean, it's gonna go so that it can't be seen from the street. And that'll be that. The other part of the fence that is chain link. It's not visible at all, except for the
Yeah,
deep one.
I'm cautioning you to not say not visible.
Right, no,
I can walk by there with binoculars and I can see that.
right,
Right,
But there's
so
another-
there's this idea of how visible it
visible
is, so I don't want people to come back to you and say, but I can see it. If I get out by binoculars, and then they're saying you didn't represent yourself correctly, and
well,
as you said, it wouldn't be visible, and it's a material thing.
I take a few iPhone photos, just.
Yeah,
highlight the area.
binocular telescopes aren't addressed in our handbook, just to be
Well,
clear.
it doesn't say that you can use them or not use them, right? It says visible. So,
I just want to make the point.
yeah,
I can see stars in the galaxy.
I think it'd be the best thing if you can just get up with that.
Yeah.
Just highlight the section you're gonna replace,
Yep.
even if you just do it in highlighter. And then
Yeah.
just.
Yeah.
yeah,
submit
I
that.
know how much it is.
Yeah.
Yes, because I already have figured out the list and how many sections we have to write.
Yeah, sure. Fair enough.
Okay.
Very
Thank
great.
you.
Did you have something to say?
No,
You guys are together.
So, hang on, let me. So the part that you're saying you want to think about is the part that the board has questioned and took pictures of when we were there. So anything that you disagreed with changing will be changed. So whatever was visible,
no, that's not, yeah.
Yeah,
There's-
just
there-
just mark it down.
We're
and
just-
then we want to get it on
Written down
record.
document.
Exactly what you said,
The issue is you have four different opinions on what's.
on how visible stuff.
Yeah, I know.
So
If you mark it,
It'll be more.
it's.
it's true. It's-
Yeah.
Move on.
It's what you were doing earlier, very specific on what we approved.
All right,
Okay, thank you.
have a good night.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for being here for 2 hours too. That was a long way.
We haven't planned on that.
Move on to the new business. It's Groton, would you like to start?
Actually, before we do that, can we take care of the referral I sent you? Want to do that first?
Oh, you have to raise it.
Yeah.
You want to do that?
Yeah, that way they get their time. So I sent this to Eric via the agenda. I think it actually comes in the case we just heard, what we probably will be hearing. So I go to referral and have this added as an agenda item. Taken on time, is that fair enough?
What's under new business?
Okay, it's under new business, so, I'm going to put a motion for Fab right now, as they requested that we add a new requirement to the applications. Which is that effective immediately, all applicants, that all adjoining neighbors and those across the street with the same lit have to be notified in writing. Of the application, they have to get a copy of the application and then be filed with us. I think it's gonna prevent a lot of problems ever seeing come back in if all the neighbors know going in what's going on. I think our requirement is outdated, it says you have to be in the newspaper. I subscribe to the day. I don't get the print. I get the digital, so I never see any notification. The other part of it I don't think is fair to the neighbors is they have 5 years to exercise the COA. The neighbor has 15 days to appeal it. So you're basically, if one was so moved, could wait 4 years, 11 months, and 29 days. These on be in compliance and the neighbor would have no recourse, and I don't feel that is keeping in good government, so I'm putting that motion forward. I've written that out for you guys.
Yeah, print out.
Yep.
we're gonna table it till next meeting to vote on it.
Okay,
Because I think we need to have a discussion over it because there's, how do we even do it if we want to do it? And
so
specifics.
yeah, I'll bring that and I'll get it all to us. So we have the agenda. So for example, Weathersfield does it, Glastonbury does it. There's a number of towns in Connecticut that do it. So
There's some discussion though, because you say like across the street that normally you don't do that in any things.
true.
You don't do a demo, you don't do it. So just,
Yeah.
we should discuss.
So we should discuss it. Okay.
Yeah, I'd be interested in the detail behind it, John, like
Um,
neighbors, I mean, what's the owner,
let's talk
or
about
a
owner.
renter?
Yeah.
Or, you
Let's
know,
talk about more.
registered
Yeah,
mail,
what I'll do is
or
I'll get good, yeah, I want registered mail return receipt.
But-
But I'll
Let's
get that
talk
all
about
together,
it
we'll put it on the next
Alright.
agenda.
I think there's a lot of detail to work out.
Yeah. Okay, Ms. Crocker. I'm assuming you're Ms. Crocker.
I also wanted to thank all my friends who are out there. I know you're out.
Yeah, Rose, I can't hear you.
Yes, okay. I just thought I'd show you the pictures, but I don't know exactly if I can do that. I have it on a PowerPoint.
Send it over there for you.
And Ruth, you can identify yourself and your address, please. for the record.
Ruth Crocker. I live at 28 Pearl Street. In Mystic, and
Turn it around, Ruth.
Wait, yeah.
and so I just wanted to show you some, give you some pictures to show you the place I'm talking about. This is my house on Pearl Street, and you know, so, yeah, it's all this way. And that, yeah, this is just a view from my third story window. Has nothing to do with public view, obviously, unless I invite them up there. But just to show you the back, my backyard, the fence, my fence, the picket fence that adjoins my neighbors there at 21 Gravel Street. And this is the fence as it was, looking up the easterly to the river. And then this is the fence that was built by the neighbors. And I was totally unaware of this happening until about a week ago when I saw them digging post holes. And back in, I looked all this up and I went to the town to find out if they had an approval and so forth. But back in May, June, and July, there were so many, we had so many family medical emergencies that it was a very hectic time and I missed it. And it seems that none of my neighbors knew either, because at one point I saw a surveyor out there and I asked my neighbor on the other side, you know, what those neighbors might be doing because they aren't really around that much. So, so the fence, that's the fence now as it is, 6 feet tall. That's the along the back of the property, and that's the way it looks from my yard. It's a little further back. Go Pearl Street, and this is the view from Pearl Street. So I was so shocked, really, at this, that at first I didn't know what to do, but basically I just wanted to tell my, you know, what it is to be a neighbor in this kind of situation, knowing nothing about it. And when I grew up here, and I do, I'm a Tom LaFrance, a neighbor of mine, I'm very friendly with most of my neighbors, except for this family that lives, well, they don't really live there, they have a house in Worcester. But let me just read my little, it's not that many minutes, so like 350 words. I love my house and I work hard to maintain it inside and out. I love my yard, which is visible from all the south and east windows of my house and Pearl Street. And it's not my yard anymore. Now the entire east side is cordoned off by a massive barricade fence. And what was formerly a kind of Victorian aesthetic in my yard with a picket fence around my garden, it's now like a prison exercise yard for me. Even the air and the sound feel different to me. And in the summer, I know there's not gonna be any breeze from the river, and I'm sure it's probably gonna create a heat sink. So I'm really devastated and overwhelmed by the changes in the character and the feeling created by this fence. Not only what I can see, but also what's visible from Pearl Street. I've been told by a few people that I have no right to a view unless I buy waterfront property, and I accept that. But I don't accept that this overwhelming structure that has so dramatically changed my property physically and visually. And it also seems to me to be a really odd precedent for this area of Mystic. And I wondered about the guidelines it's looked at in your handbook. And my question is this fence consistent visually with the rest of historic Mystic? And a couple of other questions. Do I know these people? Not personally. I've lived, like I said, there for 37 years. I sent them an email about the fence when I saw it was being erected last week. And I've also in the past let them know, like if I'm repairing or painting the barn that abuts their property, that when I thought it might impact them, but I have never received a reply from them about anything. So I know they live in Worcester, Mass most of the time, and Gravel Street is the second home that they purchased, 5 or 7 years ago. They do have large noisy parties outdoors in the summer, and they rent the house and grounds to filmmakers. Two or more Hallmark movies were filmed there last year. I also know that, they have disputes with other neighbors about boundary disputes, and then they're also angry at the neighbor next to me about the noise and fire pit smoke, because she rents her house out as an Airbnb to large groups in this big house. But she's been there since like 1998, so we're in sort of we communicate, but I'm not gonna build a 6-foot fence between us. But I'm not here to complain about them. I just want this monstrous fence taken down or modified on this boundary, on this eastern boundary. See it. This is also the section that's visible from Pearl Street. And I'm just curious if any of you came out to do a visual inspection when you were approving this thing and realized that there's already a picket fence there and that separates the properties. And also, did the architect present any kind of photos or 3D images of anything to show the impact? And that's my case.
On the latter, are you asking the question?
Am I asking the question?
Yeah.
About what?
Are you asking, did we go out or did we?
Yes, I was asking if you went out.
So I'll speak for myself. I did not, when he first came, because there were 2 hearings. There was an original hearing, I voted no for it. I was not at the second hearing. So that's all I have to say.
So frankly, and when we get to agenda packets, I try and walk the applicant properties. I don't get them all. I get about maybe 70% of them. I did not walk theirs.
Ruth, can you show that picture again, the one with right from the street?
Yes, right here.
No, the other one, when you're looking at the yard and it's
I guess the problem.
the other one,
Here's the problem.
that. Turn it around so they can.
Sarah, can you just give me 1 second? Sure.
I didn't realize it wasn't a commission.
Well, how's it look?
The problem is, this is the issue, and I watched the hearing, because I wasn't here with it.
voted on it. The only way to make this change is for what he presented, the architect, at that hearing to not be what was done. That's it. Otherwise, at this point, the appeal period's over. And we can't make them take it down unless it differs from what he presented to the commission.
You know if it's any different?
So I'm gonna give my opinion. So in public communication, I'm probably most of the people on the contact me, I've heard from a lot of people about this. I've got an extensive public communication. In all fairness, all but 2 people do support Ruth's position. 2 don't. Gotta be honest and even handed. Personally, I feel and I voted in favor of it. Okay, so I'm gonna say that, and in retrospect, I would change my vote now, and I feel that I made a mistake. My issue is I feel the application was defective. We did not have a public. We didn't have pictures of all the public views, something we brought up. Had I known, had the pictures been there, had I known that there was already a picket fence there, I would not have approved putting a second fence on top of another fence, you know. The applicant brought up that it was a problem with the Airbnb. Ruth's not the Airbnb, so if the Airbnb is the problem.
But the editorial piece is irrelevant. The reality is, I watched the video like 10 minutes before tonight, because I was out of town for 2 weeks, so I only called him this couple hours ago. He didn't put any pictures in. He barely described the fence. And he drew a picture that didn't show anything except for an overhead view in black and white with lines of what it was going to do. The problem is they approved it. And just like I wanted Mr. Lorenz Barry to make sure he had everything so that nothing could ever come back. I don't know how we can go to these people, whether it's right or wrong, tell them they have to take it down unless they didn't do what they approved.
Do you guys agree that that's not in keeping with the historic district's theme of keeping things historic and visually appealing? I walk down there every day.
I think it's
It's
tough.
disgusting looking
I think it's
when you
tough.
walk by.
I think there shouldn't be 2 fences against each other. I think that's ridiculous, and that shouldn't happen. I think that personally, I think that there are other houses on Pearl Street and Ground Street that do have 6-foot fences and ladders on top. You can see that. So I'm not sure that it's not necessarily not in keeping, but I can't sit here and like read.
I'll say taking pages, I bring this up 1 and 2 and 39 and 40 out of our handbook. That fence is not in keeping with our design guidelines at all.
The problem is, it doesn't matter. The only way that she can make them take it down is they did something that wasn't approved. So you've got to go and figure out what, if that's what you want to do, what wasn't approved. Maybe it's the posts, maybe they're not cedar like it said they were. Maybe the material's not the right height.
Well, I think the fence is the solid part is cedar.
This
but
is
the
exactly how
posts,
we described it.
I don't know, the posts are, look like they're pressure treated. Is that?
They were cedar. Got to do what he said he was supposed to do. Or they've got to do what the architect said.
The barricade fence.
I don't disagree with that, but they approved.
How do you approve a barricade fence? It's against your bylaws.
I don't know.
You don't know?
I wasn't here.
And I'm fair to Eric wasn't here. I mean, I voted against the first one because it was vinyl. I did approve the second one because it was wood, and again, I will say on the record, I feel that I made a mistake. I don't feel, I will say I made a mistake. There's no feeling about it. I definitely say that.
So, so are you saying that it's up to me to prove that it was not what it's supposed to be?
No, there'll be a final inspection, Tom wants to go after the final inspection.
But I think the more that she can support that.
Oh, so you should probably contact Tom and meet him out there, wherever it's going. He's gonna do he's in charge of the code enforcement, so he's gonna do the final conclusion if it complies with what was submitted.
But the way that Tom has written everything for us since the last 2 years, everything complies, with everything that's ever been approved. So I would strongly suggest that if you don't agree with it being approved the way it was approved, that you do your own homework.
How would you be pleased that the guy who came in tonight with the octagon window? Tom was the one who stopped him from going through against skill on
And,
it.
and,
Seamus was ready to go on it, and Tom stopped him.
and Tom has already got out there to, because at first Tom didn't know, we approved the second time, he did go out there and talk to them. You know,
Yeah, Tom got the window about this. But I think that Tom's consistent.
Yeah, I don't think so, I just be cautious saying.
Yeah.
Can you imagine living like that after having the view that she had? That's, there goes your enjoyment of your yard. Looking at that.
Problem is. They approved it. If they approve that, I don't know, I mean. Me, it doesn't look like it was exactly what he said it was, but again, I watched it 10 minutes before it came in.
Well, I saw that picture, I saw the proposal on, online, and it shows one section and it looks pretty innocuous at one section. It doesn't, I mean, it's a safe fence, but it just doesn't look like that. So I think the problem was the process of not, of not digging into it as to what it would look like when it was.
And I completely agree with you on that, since I've become chairperson, which resulted in a big push. To make sure that the rules are followed and that they're corrected, the handbook's corrected, so that things like this don't happen. And that's what we're in the process of doing, unfortunately.
Peter, what if the application was? What if the information given, hang on,
You can't go down this road.
what if the information that was given to us was not correct by the applicant?
You would have to go through the process was 10 days, then 15 days, everyone's gonna get caught,
That's not a problem. Because as much as this is terrible for you, and I appreciate that, I really do. If it was a total opposite way and there was one neighbor complaining against you and 50 other people, we couldn't tell them to do the opposite. Sorry, I'm not saying that right, but I think you understand.
So is the appeal process only for residents?
Well, anyway, yeah.
So what precludes a commission member from using Robert's Rule of Orders to make a motion to reconsider? It's not accepted in our handbook.
You already approved it. You got through the appeal
Yeah, but
process.
Robert's Rule of Orders rule us if there's not a rule that prohibits it, there's not.
Can't do that.
That's been tried, yeah. Legally. I know you're the first time.
All right.
Hey, we've made mistakes, and I don't disagree, this is a mistake, that's. The only recourse is if it wasn't done was what was approved wasn't done. That's it,
And then, of course, to fix it in the handbook.
which is what we're 100%.
We're hoping that this,
Well, what you spoke to earlier was good, letting other neighbors know so
Yeah.
they can have an opinion. And then certainly
Notice,
nobody knew
Yeah.
what it was gonna look like.
the book's extremely dated, it should have been updated a long time ago,
And actually, if everybody starts erecting 6-7 foot fences around downtown, like when I go out strolling every day down there, I go down there because visually it's appealing. You get peaks of the river and the architectural, integrity of downtown. They'll end up looking like a shanty town if everybody's popping up those kind of fences, like down at Groton Long Point, they have 50%, what's it called?
Density, yeah.
Density fencing. Nobody can put up a solid fence, nobody.
Yeah.
It's, everybody has to have a view.
and I think that's something that we consider as we go to the public and say, what do you want to see in this new handbook? I think those type of things. Because I don't disagree with you at all. I wish I was here.
So what kind of a sleuth do I need to go after whether this was done?
Well, you presented for 5 minutes, so it's not that long, unfortunately, but I don't know. I can't tell you how to do it. I just, is it exactly what he said it is? Yes or no? I don't know. Gotta figure it out.
But as part of that is also. Was there other factors that play into your decision, like, he needed to protect himself from neighbors, because I read that it's a privacy fence, but he only erected it actually to protect them from, the Airbnb. There's only 2 sides, but it happens to block me off too.
So I can't speak for everyone else, but when I make a decision, I try to make a decision based upon that handbook.
Right.
And that's it. People tell stories all the time. Truth and
Yeah.
not truth. Unfortunately, I try to avoid listening to it.
you know, everybody who moves into downtown, that, yeah, the historic district. Especially down here, right, you know, Gravel Street, now everybody knows, it was a joke all growing up. And you probably remember hearing, instead of the historical commissioners, the hysterical commission. Because they wouldn't let you do anything. And I just find it really odd that that size fence can go up. And not have any consideration for the neighbors whatsoever. I mean, the enjoyment of you buy property for specific things, whether it's the architecture that you love or the yard, like I know you love gardening, I'm not a gardener, but. Now her enjoyment's completely,
And I'm sorry, I actually know you, but you want to identify yourself for the record.
I'm sorry,
Just can you identify yourself for the
oh,
record?
sorry,
Yeah.
Maureen Wiley,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think
and I'm just, you know, I'm down here to support Ruth, but also because I walk down there all the time. And I walk by, and every time I walk by, I'm grilled, ripping mad, looking at it. I can't see the water, you just see this ass ugly fence. And it's just piled on top of the other one, and it just, there goes the enjoy, all I can think of is, ew, there goes the enjoyment, never mind my view. There goes your enjoyment, and I know the other neighbors around are feeling the same way.
I'm Jerry Slack, I'm Bruce's husband. The other thing that's happened with this decision is that now anybody can come to this committee and ask to erect a 6-foot fence. You have set precedent. You can put up a 6-foot barricade fence.
So we don't
Pardon me?
we don't set precedent. I've actually argued the same thing you're arguing, and I was told that wrong. By the.
Why are you wrong? How, if you, somebody who wanted to put up a 6-foot fence, after you just given approval.
According to the town attorney. Which I did not agree with, but.
You know how many times the town attorney's told me I'm wrong, and he's wrong, I don't.
According to the town attorney, we don't set precedent. Everything is a one-off decision, project by project.
I find
Did
that
you
hard
want
to
off it
believe.
that you made a mistake? You know what, we took a look at it, it's just not
That unfortunately, no, that's
too
the
bad.
problem. Unless it doesn't conform with what.
You
But
hang your hat on
Unless,
that.
excuse me, unless what, I can't hear
it
it.
doesn't conform with what he applied for.
So whatever their application,
So then
if it
it's
doesn't match up,
next
it's got a legal leg to stand on.
It has to be the same material and same size and what they said they're gonna put there. So that's the next question is whether they use the right material. And, but even if they didn't, I mean, you've given approval, they could just put different posts in, right?
It could, but it's a process,
I mean, it's,
a lot of work, a lot of money. Take it down, look back up.
So sounds like I have to get my.
Yes, and your name, sir?
Well, just. 72 Spring Valley Road. The fence, the attractive side of the fence, is facing the house that installed the fence. Typically. It's the opposite way. So the business side of the fence is on the inside of the fence.
I don't think that's a rule, I just think that's being courteous to your neighbors, but I also think that the neighbors should have reached out to you. I mean, I would not erect a fence in my yard without talking to I don't have a fence, but if I did, I would 100% talk to Mike next to him and say, hey, I want to put a fence up. What do you want to do?
I would encourage you to make that a requirement.
I don't think he told us what side he was putting which way.
Say,
I don't think he disclosed to us he's gonna put the nice side to his.
I'm sure it's not a requirement, I'm just suggesting it ought to be a recommendation.
Well, if you show the fence without the crossbar on the side that's facing her, and the crossbar on the side facing her now, he's gonna take it all back and turn it around. That's
So
true.
you still, at the end of the day, you still have approval on a fence, you just would have to comply with everything that you gave. So you could do that in time off for a while. But at the end of the day.
This proper, I got. Tiny comment I want to make in the kindest way.
Yeah.
Because it appears to me when I walked by it today that it's horrible. So I understand your pain, I really do. And it would have been so much nicer. If back at the beginning. They talked to you
Sure.
and you said. My picket fence is fine to here, and maybe if you want to put up more fence for the other guys. You know, because I think they said in the hearing they were having trouble with the Airbnb people wandering in their yard or something, I don't know. But if you could have cooperated, might have worked, and I don't know if they're even open to the cooperation anymore and changing it versus.
But that's,
Versus going legal, which is
Yeah.
what I hear you're drifting towards, and maybe that's your only recourse, but.
but that's the weird thing is that I don't, I mean, I don't have. I don't. They just,
don't
they
react, they don't
have
answer,
language, they're
I
big parties, which is fine. You know, but I just don't have a relationship with them, and I have left notes, and I just don't get anything back. I don't know.
That's the tough thing.
They're bullies. These people are bullies and what are mad.
Yeah.
They've been here 5 years and they're bullies. I mean, the guy bought it. I don't understand why you did. I do not understand why you put up a barricade fence against your bylaws.
Are you sure?
Anytime for anybody.
Well, you can put a 6-foot tall fence up.
Not a barricade fence according to your rules. The word barricade is in your rules.
He is right, it is.
It's in there. No barricade fences.
Looks like
You don't know that?
That's not a barricade fence.
It's not a barricade.
No.
fence. What is a barricade fence?
I'd have to look it up, but that's not a barricade.
It has cannons next to it.
It's cat.
No, but the cedar fences at 6 foot tall have been approved in the district by this commission, the old commission, the hysterical commission. So that part, I did,
Yeah.
that I'm not sure is a winning.
Yeah, I walked through town and I did see a couple of
I mean, 3 to the right of you, there's fences that are 6 feet tall.
But they're not.
six, but they were not extensive like that. They were up in the woods and, you know, they were not really intrusive at
And-
somebody's yard.
And that's why he should have submitted photos. He should have, he should have represented it correctly. I'm,
Well, how about saying he didn't represent it correctly?
that's what you gotta tell us. I can't,
Oh,
he can't
so
tell you.
that's when I go get the lawyer to represent me to show.
I would just, look, earlier tonight, we've been dealing with this fence situation up on Orchard Lane now for a while. There's no lawyer involved. They figured a way to answer it, to fix it, to correct it. My suggestion to you is, since his application was only like 5 to 10 minutes at the most, I would just review it yourself. Take a look at this, measure it off the ground, measure the stuff, look at his picture, look at your picture, come back in 2 weeks and say, this is or this isn't. If it is exactly what he's presented, then I'm sorry, I think you're stuck. And we need to fix that as a board with the rewrite. I think if you can come back and find that things aren't the same, which to me, it being not the way it was supposed to be oriented, the post not being correct. You've got to
Okay.
start. I think it's terrible. I really do. I feel sorry for you.
So I have to get a fence. Expert for something.
I think I'm pretty confident that you and 40 other people online can figure it out.
So that fence is too far off the ground.
I don't know. I didn't.
Well, we have to, actually, the fence itself is 6 feet, but they put it up higher. Because they didn't take all the roots out. They had to come down and privet.
The fence was supposed to be 6 feet off the ground, not 6.
Oh, it's
feet.
more than 6 feet off the ground.
It was presented
Well, then
as
you
6
may
feet
have
off
an
the
issue.
ground.
So
Huh?
we take measurements, we take pictures, we,
All right. Okay, we got an avenue.
okay.
But I hope that you guys can work with us on this because it's a big mistake that you guys made by approving this fence.
And I agree with you.
You agree?
I personally agree.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't vote for it, but I
I
actually.
understand. Thank you. You know, we need that support.
Peter, how do we get Tom to go make a report on it, or how do they get Tom to go?
Usually people request the thing and complete the work. Go check it out.
If I was I would review the meeting that they approved it,
The one that's on.
the 17th of January, July, whatever.
Or something.
Yeah, it's on
Yeah.
YouTube. Go to the
GMPD.
section that he talks about, look at the pictures and what he says,
Mhm.
do your
There's a
own.
recording, there's a
There's a
recording.
recording,
of that?
but do your own analysis of it, and come back in 2 weeks first, and then send that out if you want.
All right.
Because I don't think this is gonna be the case. Hypothetically, if exactly what he said is what was done, I wouldn't waste your time coming back because there's nothing we can do about it. If you do go out there and you find inconsistencies and defects in what was approved and what wasn't, we can absolutely do something.
Yeah,
Curious about the height, just what they said it's
6
over.
feet off the ground, is what it was supposed to be. That's what I heard.
So if it's higher, they're,
That's why I.
The neighbor, Susan, is also told me that it's over her venue, and so
That we can't, that's a civil matter.
it's,
You'd have to get a lawyer for that. We can't do it anymore.
so that doesn't relate to zoning, but to boundary issues.
That's civil. That's a sum of 7. Which is, I just want to make a comment, which is why I was so particular with that gentleman, to get all the information so that
Yeah.
no one else can ever be upset about it. You know, and I do think a notice requirement is a great idea eventually, when we can get it written properly. Deal with everything else. Because I agree with you, there's a lot of people that haven't been here 30, almost 8 years now. 30, how many years? 37, so they don't care the same way.
Well, she's been here longer than that. She's older than 37. She grew up.
yeah, really.
Well, then, okay.
Get off.
But-
It was real nice, dude.
Most, like you said, most of the people that are neighbors that know each other would never do that. It's different, you know. But
Drives me insane.
Yeah.
Everybody should be considering tree authors the way they like to be treated.
Okay.
I'll save just a little bit of time, perhaps, in that, if you're gonna look at all the videos, topic, the fence was discussed in the pre-application, like you saw tonight, on, June 7th. It had a public hearing on, June 21st, and it was denied. And then it had another hearing on July 19th, was approved.
But the only thing that is the 19th.
Right. I understand, but there might be information in the other hearings that give you some insight into
As to why it
what
was.
they were doing or what they were thinking about, or. Yeah, but the public hearing that was approved is the one that counts, right?
That's it, yeah.
I didn't say that, but I'm saying you're trying to find out all the motivation of what they were trying to do. That's all public record on the YouTube channel.
But I'm just trying to save them time, which is.
The other ones don't matter.
Right.
But they might have,
So
they
you're
might
gonna,
have parts that you're interested in.
yeah, because for your discussion of the pros and cons of this would be there. And, yeah, I understand, okay.
I don't know what they all say.
But it won't. It won't
It's
matter.
it's the one that they got approved,
Right.
matters.
Except if it really is different than what was approved.
Think about it as like a patent, like you own a patent. If someone infringes on it because it's the exact same thing, you have a case. If it's different, you have nothing. Think of it in the reverse. You're just trying to find what the differences were and say that because they're different from what they approved at that meeting on the 20, what was it, 19. That's how it can get changed. But in the end, all you would be doing though is making it difficult for them to go to rectify it. They could still put a 6-foot fence on that property line in that configuration,
Do
as long as it matches. That's
you
the
think you guys might be interested in doing that 50%, everybody, whatever 6-foot fence, if somebody wants to put up, that people are able to see through it, so you don't lose the visuals.
I think all that's discussion for the rewrite. 'Cause there's a lot of things that are.
When's when are you doing that?
Well, some project we're planning on, but I'll talk there, but there's a little hiccup coming possibly with that right now.
In some form or another, the plan is to update
Say a
the
few steps.
That was a good idea, Jim.
I have one more thing to say. I lived in Lexington, Mass for 40 years, lived in a house there. I had a business in Burlington, Mass for 30 years. Both of those towns, if there was anything that impacted my property in my house or my business, I got a registered letter from the town saying this issue is before the town board. And do you have a comment to make on it? I had to sign a return receipt and send it back to them. And we did that for 30 years, 40 years in Lexington. Every single abutter was informed of anything that happened with relative to their property. This business of putting your notices in the day is ridiculous. It's arcane, it's poor management. It's absolutely poor management on your part because you totally cut out a butter's abilities to have a discourse with you about the issue. And you need to change that immediately. Lexington, Massachusetts is a well-run town. Burlington, Massachusetts is a well-run town. Mystic is not a well-run town because of things like this. The Butters had no choice, we had no indication last year that this was approved. Now, what is wrong with that picture? You guys, the way you're operating is wrong. Change it. You can do that. There's 5 of you on this committee. Change it tomorrow or next week, whenever. So that people around the issue have an opportunity to have discourse on the issue. That's all I got to say.
And the same passionate speech you just made is the same that I made to the former chairman, and the answer was no.
What do you mean the answer is no?
The answer was no at the time. Now,
Who?
the former chairman,
The former chairman. But
now no longer.
Who's the?
you're not the former chairman.
No, I know, but that's exactly why we're taking it up to next meeting.
Okay. Perfect. Access sucker. Return receipt requested to every abutter on any issue. It'll solve a lot of your problems, and we're here because we didn't know. I mean, it's ridiculous. Something of this magnitude. We didn't know. Whose fault is that? It's not ours.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Somebody's got their hand up. You folks want to.
Oh, that's good.
Hi, this is Carl Willman. I'm just eagerly watching this. I want to thank you all for having me. I just want to say I've known Ruth for many years. I want to express my support for her and her request for removal of the fence located at 21 Gravel Street. I believe that fence detracts from her view in a way that is excessive, causes significant loss of enjoyability to persons using her backyard. I'm almost done. And it would be fair to say it lowers the value of her property. The fence lacks what I would call a New England simple styling that makes older towns and historic areas in New England so charming. Again, I want to express my support for Ruth. Thank you all for your time.
Thanks.
Oh, Bean?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I have a question. So if they review the what was approved of the fence and they find some differences in what has actually been constructed, would the owners of the fence, would they have to remove that fence and then reapply before you guys?
No, actually, no, and I was saying that before, they would have to rectify it to the improved fence. So what I said was, unfortunately, the fence doesn't go away, it would just be a process to correct it. Which maybe you then could have a discussion with them.
They won't have a discussion with us, the police.
Well, I mean, one thing I thought of is they could do a modification there where they lower it for a section and then raise, because it does need, in fact, it looks weird right now because it goes beyond my last picket post and goes in his yard and goes up like that. It looks crazy. And if they change the configuration, it would look much more, pleasant.
Visually, yeah.
And then just do something like that. But
Somebody had a picture today on Facebook, then some fence builder around here, I think it was the guy from Knowing. And they just had, it was like the doorway to it, the fence to his driveway. But the whole front of it was taken down like that,
yeah,
and I think you probably saw that and that might help. If they could do something along those lines.
I mean, the fence guy's not the bad guy, he's just building what they're.
Oh, yeah.
telling them.
Yeah.
are there other?
Well, no, was that it?
Yes, yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Phil.
Mary Jane? Mary Jane, are you there?
That's one there. She's muted.
Keep asking.
Now I'm unmuted. Okay. My name's Mary Jane Reisner, and I've known Ruth and her family for many, many years. And she takes great pride in the historic nature of the town of Mystic. And when I saw that fence, the pictures of that fence is a travesty to the history of Mystic. Mystic is an old whaling town, fishing town, and that fence has no way in keeping with that thing. the ambiance of that area. And I understand that you made a mistake, and mistakes do happen, but I find it absurd that mistakes can't be rectified. And I'm glad to hear that you're planning on changing your bylaws in more in keeping with public notification when major things are happening that directly impact the person. And that's what was wrong with this entire thing. She was never notified because you're supposed to be notified by reading the paper. I'm 75 years old. I've lived where I live for over 31 years. Since my husband passed away, there's not been a newspaper in this house. I get my news from the television or from the internet. So there's no way I would ever be able to read the newspaper. But anyway, Ruth, you did a good job. Keep up the good work. And I love you, and you take care of yourself.
Thanks, Gary.
Okay, thank you. Terry?
When someone does your you do this with all.
Oh,
Give it to someone else and get a blanket.
Terry?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
yes.
Okay. What I'm wanting to say is that I'd like to ask each of the people who are sitting at the table right now, what you would feel like if that fence was put up next to your small New England white kind of picket fence. I think you would be extremely unhappy, just like Ruth is extremely unhappy. So I would really like to ask you to figure out what you could do to rectify this situation, because I think everyone sitting behind those tables right now would definitely want to do the same thing. That's it.
Thank you, Terry.
I think that is it. Ask if anyone else wants to what you consider.
Oh, is there anyone else?
Thank you.
Way past my bedtime, guys. I got home, good about it.
Thank you.
Lovely to meet you. So, question about, procedure. I do go home and I come up with something. How do I? Oh, I put myself on the agenda. It's like, I'm out of time. I'm in trouble. No, I don't know what part of your
It was all like, Miss Cassidy's that she kept emailing, at least me.
Well, no, I mean, think of that in 2 weeks. Oh,
You see people when you're around, they go, oh, I'd like to see that.
instead of, I just, my opinion is that you're not gonna find
Well,
the
that's
answer you want.
the 50%, yeah.
Clearly, considering the fact that more rates, windows changed, doors changed, roofs changed, but it was all.
Okay, well, we should keep it, because that's.
You're talking about minute differences.
The front yard, well,
Different
right out,
posts.
all the way around.
So,
Oh, I don't even know.
Yeah.
It's not one.
that was one big
Part, yeah.
There's no way he's gonna find it. Yours was.
You know, it's so nice to meet you. Oh, do you, my brother?
I mean,
So,
yeah, it's a short thing, it's a short section.
Yeah.
Read it, follow it. Make sure everything that he said was supposed to get done and they wanted it
Just in the middle.
was done.
She was
Whatever it was.
really shocked.
Even just bullets. You don't need to make a legal case, just make a list.
Was, oh, yeah, okay. Okay, yeah.
Let's stay out of the other stuff, because it's just. It's not gonna help.
Well, it's not gonna be pretty one. That's for sure.
Thank you for your help. Thank you.
Oh, look at one. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
When you sit down.
My reasoning
Making him do all that, so it's stuff like this doesn't happen.
I agree with you.
In keeping with everything, but saying to them or allowing them. I feel we just take it back, and I agree with them. But if I put my building up, 20 people came in here and said they didn't like it, or Todd put his restaurant in, 20 people came in here and said they didn't like it, and we all said, oh, well, we will reconsider because of 20 more times. That can't.
The only reason I wanted to there is I feel, and I will speak for myself only. I made a mistake. Knowing what I know now, I would not have worked with that.
I think.
And let me finish. I'm a big believer in fairness. And I think there's got to be a safety net. And if someone makes a mistake, it's not just, oh, wow. That's just John talking. I'm not talking for anybody else.
But you had Pizzetta. You've got 11-4 ratio.
Right.
And now
No,
you've
I
got
agree.
the fence
I agree.
from the same person. You don't see a problem? It's not the three of them.
I agree. But so going down that, that's my frustration. So Pizzetta, because we looked at a picture, oh, well, it's a gotcha. You know, this is a gotcha. That's why I was pushing for us to try and do something. I feel mistakes happen. There's gotta be a safety net. If I was inside the chair and you said, well, sorry, we made a mistake, but oh, well, it wouldn't sit well with me. And then I try and walk in the shoes of.
But it can't, because it just opens the door of why I don't like that. I mean, look, I think that putting the air conditioners on the front of the building was a terrible idea. It was a terrible idea. It was a terrible design by Peter. I wish I hadn't done it. But there is no way I would have allowed the commission. I would have lawyered up, and there's no way I would allow you to let me change it because it was exactly how you approved it. And that's what that neighbor would do to her. If we just said, hey, yeah, you're right, it looks terrible.
I'm just telling you my reasoning and my thought process behind it, and why I'm with you, that we have to just stick to the rules.
Stick to the rules and make the changes to the handbook. Let them follow one thing, which has been, as much as you probably get frustrated with me sometimes, in fact, I speak more than I should. For 4 years, I've been sitting here saying we just got to get something that people can follow, so that this doesn't happen.
Right. And that's why, as soon as we can, I think we need to have that notification requirement, and it'll stop Orchard Lane, and that's all these issues been happening, and people have a chance to come in and talk to us at the time.
But if people come in like the one with the witch house, or you, or I did, or whatever, and they come in together, they list the materials, they have all their pictures, and it's approved, it's approved. I think the approving the fence on Pearl Street, this fence, with what was presented after looking at it for the first time.
What was that? We never just.
It was a bad idea.
Well, I'm not saying, I'm gonna say aye, I'm just gonna speak for myself.
It was like 5 minutes.
It's like 5 minutes, and the pictures,
You guys approved that.
and
And
an
then
aerial,
you went to 5 minutes.
and an aerial view that was all black and white, it didn't show it.
So that's why I'm gonna speak for myself, and again, say I made a mistake. If I can do it over again, I would do it differently.
But you just can't, you can't take the path, reversing things. It's think of it like a legal thing, that's what I was trying to say. No, I wasn't trying to jump in for you, but if you get into the editorial stuff, they start looking at the other ones, they're gonna come back here with a whole list of things, well, he said this, he said whatever, and there's nothing. No, I know, but there's nothing we can do about it, by focusing them on what they can do to rectify it, which is to make sure it's exactly like for like, then they have their case. But you can't, a bunch of judges can't get together and say like, we made a mistake, just kidding, pull them back in jail, it's not fair.
Well, take that, I mean, criminally, no, but in civil course, there's appeals all the time, there's judicial review councils, I mean, so if somebody does make a mistake, there is a way. With us, there's not.
Right, but that would be, you can only appeal things. What? If there's a misstatement of the law, or there's an incorrect interpretation, that's it, I mean, you appealed the 6-foot fence with that lattice section on top. Did you appeal this, or did you prove it this way or that way, is what they can do, but the fence is proven.
Right. But I guess using the law example, it's because if we were a judge, we misread the law, because it's actually not, our design guidelines say we should never approve that thing.
Yeah, but we've improved.
I get it. We've improved tons of stuff in the past. I get it.
But one of our key difficulties is, even if we do all this, once it gets built and people see it, then they go, oh, I don't like that. But they couldn't see that when they were looking at the drawings or the whatever the renderings were, right? They don't, and then it's been built. Then somebody's invested a bunch of money making something happen. And then it's okay, it's a mistake, but you didn't know it was a mistake
Right, but what I
until it
would,
was built, right? You can't, I mean, at a certain point, when you give them, it's okay, we saw your drawings and we agreed. I'm not saying, I'm saying just in general, our problem is, things turn out. When they're built, people see them and they react differently to them than they will in all the renderings and all the other stuff that we ever looked at. Right?
That I think is like.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I
it's
just
just,
think
and that's, you know, look at some of that houses that people designed, and you look at them after they're built, you know, good God, what was the architect thinking,
Right.
right? But unfortunately, that's, a lot of that's just human frailty and lack of perfection that we all have, and the ability to truly
Visualize what's
divine or
going on.
dig deep enough that you know everything, so that's gotta happen.
Right.
Period.
I mean, putting myself in this case, during that application, they had a picture from Pearl Street.
Oh, yeah.
Showing the existing fence, and we went for another fence there, I would have said, no,
The
wait,
double
this,
fence.
double fence would say crap.
A little alarm bell, like,
right,
why can't you?
Why didn't he show this thing?
right, exactly.
Why didn't he show some? I don't know.
And then that's why like I said, I feel the application was defective, it did not give us all the information.
Which is why I screamed and yelled about the house in Brown Street, because it was showing all the views and stuff that had nothing to do with anything. It wasn't even correct.
No, Slade, I had another topic I wanted to ask. Sure. Todd and Eric about, in particular, because they're more senior. Experienced people. Around your advice on dealing with media.
Did they reach out to you?
In any way, any advice they have. On what's appropriate commission of the board. Relative to.
Typically, it's usually no comment. You don't read planning and zoning officials talking to the media too much.
I've never actually reached out to. So.
Yeah.
And no one's ever asked.
The issue becomes whether you're speaking on behalf of the commissioner or speaking on behalf of yourself. And the interpretation of, I think, a planning commission or historic district commission member who speaks to the press. It may be assumed that they're speaking on behalf of the commission, and that's something you probably don't. I think, I mean, it's like, I don't think there's a prohibition against it.
I think you just have to be very cautious. I wouldn't, exactly for that reason. Are you speaking on behalf of yourself, or are you speaking on behalf of
So you can qualify your remarks by saying you're speaking on behalf of yourself,
right.
whether that
Right,
gets
right.
into the paper.
Exactly.
Comment, it's not a.
all that.
Well, that's why with talking paper, it's always good to talk and send them an email with your comments, so it's documented as far as what you say.
With all that gravel street stuff, no one ever reached out. So,
Right.
I mean, that's the only thing that's ever been major enough. Even when, like, when we finished the standard and they interviewed us for the building, they didn't ask anything about. They just want to know about.
Well, I mean, there was some Facebook comments on Gravel Street that people reach out to me, and you can read them, they're very tempered, I want to discuss that, so, you know, like,
Well, you can, if you want to go on a public forum and talk as a resident of town.
Right.
I mean, half the planning and zoning commission does that.
Does what? Goes on Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook or next door, and it's their names, it's not like they're hiding. Yeah.
wait, have you had press reach out to you yet?
Yeah.
No.
No.
But you got a nice column from columns.
It was an interesting one. More to do with what's going next door than us, but yeah, I don't know.
I just don't think it's fair that we've had this set of rules that isn't really, was never really followed. Isn't up to date in certain areas and is confusing for a lot of people. Which is why I've always said either fix it or get rid of it. Just get rid of it. Or fix it and give them a set of rules that they can follow. Do you ever find a copy in Word format that we can try to change that?
When I got one, I actually got one printed out copy, I got to give it to you, like, so I wasn't like, so I'm like, trying to snap up it. I get it to you, I get it to
You don't have the Word came in.
Yes, that, I'll talk to Deb Shuffler, she had it, she commented that she's able to know.
Just email it to everyone.
Yeah. She gave me a physical copy, so I actually got a printed out copy.
Well, I mean, I could, I'll print it out.
Yeah. Well, I know it's there.
I was just, I got kind of heated, going, how did those plans from Mark go back in? No one said anything. I mean, those are, they're changes.
Window configuration are getting altered. But,
Somebody else that's doing more major. I personally don't have any problem with it. It's fine.
I think it's what the reason with is the actual, like what Tom said, it was the configuration of everything there, it's with the harmony, of what was approved. If you actually put it, what? It's very minor when you're looking at it, from a big picture standard, actually looking at the artistic characteristics of.
I also think that my current garage was a harmony, which should have been that much different.
Yeah, but we never actually told her to stay. If he.
We very, 3 meetings, we were very
Tried.
But that guy kept coming in, but. He was not the right advocate.
Yeah, but then he tried after that, and you got in Eric Cousins too, who came in for a year or two, and did it.
But I thought we were considering his ideas. Remember, he was gonna change the front gable.
You know, honestly, I thought
Cut across the dormer.
if it wasn't during COVID, you probably would have got it. Somebody actually physically came in and presented to you guys. I think that was a COVID issue where it was situation of the whole person.
Well, I just was surprised when he said leave the roof off because. He,
So I was like, at the beginning of COVID too, I was like, at the beginning, of its whole process, doing everything.
it was every single meeting a COVID meeting.
Yeah.
That one.
I remember the house on High Street, and then refused to issue the certificate of occupancy for the roof or something to, whatever.
Well, and that's the thing, if you read Tom's
Years
report
ago.
on,
Yeah, that was older than once.
if you read
Yeah.
Tom's report on, which place there are pitch changes on the roof. That's why I want to look at the things.
So that, I know, so that house on High Street. They lost, and they could not get, I think, I don't remember exactly how it worked out, they ended up. Receiving approval eventually, but they could not get a certificate of occupancy on their house because he changed the next.
Right.
This guy
I
changed.
don't think it was on the garage.
Oh, it was on the garage, whatever, he changed a ton of stuff. And Tom's saying.
Yeah, I mean, you got a 2-degree pitch change here. And guardrails from wire to glass, but I don't really care about.
I think that's what you guys are.
You know, you got a roof that's 4 feet higher, the pitch change on the garage. I mean, there's a lot of issues on when you read Tom's report. On Fort Rachel Place.
But it's all fine.
So we talked about Fort Rachel tonight, we talked about Orchard Lane, there were 3 other guys on. Issues of concern last.
You got the bank and bridge, he's been working with the police over there.
Outdoor sneakers.
Yeah, bank and bridge didn't do anything, so working with the police, I got a couple police reports. So he's been in collaboration with them working.
Can we also?
Yeah, but okay, so hang on, and we're still being rehearsed, I'll say this for the record. I walked by there on a Sunday to meet a friend at SIFT, and he's playing the game on the speakers, so if they allow it.
Ruth.
Hear it.
Oh, you're welcome, but I want you to know, I've stayed online. I don't think they knew that I was still online, and I listened to them talking for the last 20-25 minutes.
Yeah, we know we're still on.
So I want to tell you what happened, all right? The guy in the checkered shirt that was kind of straight across from you, that was at the corner.
Me?
Once you guys left the room, he raised his hand and said, I just want to say right now, I made a mistake on this one.
We can still hear you.
Well, and so he said that, and he held to that position. And then the guy that did the most of the talking and kind of the black and brown, you know, further down, he basically seemed to be saying, it was hard to hear, but he basically seemed to be saying that the rules are the rules and the rules should be changed, but the rules are the rules. And
I don't want him to get to me.
Just mute it.
oh,
Oh. Yeah, but I mean, with Bank and Bridge, you're right, speakers aren't supposed to be out there, what's the dance? That's my frustration, is this dance?
The thing about the speakers is those are not very visible, I guess. So I was talking about.
Are they improved?
That's what he said, he goes, I don't even know if they're visible.
Are they approved?
They're visible.
How much? No.
They're visible.
Yeah, that's like I said, this is where. It's changed over the years, this commission. I was, as I said, I told you this before, I've had people come in that have said they should come in for a COA. And you guys have said, no, it's not visible, not very visible, we're going on this road, you catch it for a glimpse for a year, and it's not. So
So-
like, if you're changing your position, that's why I said, that's why a lot more are gonna come in with these things, because you want to be very strict, we'll become very strict on it going abroad.
So I'm gonna take it this way, and I think especially some of these two need to consider as businessmen in town. And I brought something, you know, maybe I'm a trading guy, I'm stupid or whatever, but the World Bank's actually written a whole thing about protecting historic districts, how it's really good for business. And if we want to keep playing loose and goose with the business, we'll have speakers and maybe we'll build a strip club downtown next. We can destroy downtown and destroy Mystic and destroy the business. And that is exactly what's gonna happen. And you guys can say, I'm gonna ride my horse and buggy back to my house with my hand at candles. But it's the direction the town's gonna go in. So then, and some of us have been here long enough to see there's an up and down that happens around here. 30 years from now, EV's probably not gonna build subs. And we're probably gonna have another contraction, and then you ruin the golden goose.
But I don't think, here's the point, is I don't think anything's getting ruined because we're doing it.
No, I agree, but we have to do it. That's what I'm saying. I agree with you.
I mean, a lot of stuff's been voted no, way
Right.
more than it was 2 years ago.
I completely agree.
3 years.
I completely agree. And
But
that's,
it's not the polar opposite it was when I moved back here 15 years ago.
and I don't think we should ever go to that. It shouldn't be that we all have to ride a horse and buggy. It's just me.
Look, I think progress is great. I think what you're doing is great. I think in the end, the building I did was great.
I agree.
It's good. Like, I think so everything's not perfect. Mistakes get made. I think this was a mistake. You know, but I think that things just need to get updated next.
Yeah, I agree.
But as far as the banking thing, I just want to make the comment, I don't think we should be forwarding commission emails, commission member emails to the person being complained about. Just why I sent it back to you, because then not only did I get an email.
Yeah, Tom sent it to someone. Yeah, what do you do with that?
Email me back.
Is that pressing wall?
There you go.
I wasn't even here.
You were CC'd on it.
And then
It's a carrier, we're invited to the
Yeah, then
right.
you emailed me back, you were thinking I was. And I wasn't.
Right.
I was just CC'd.
I think you made a note of Tom. Send an
I
email.
sent you a
Yeah.
all of you, said maybe this isn't a good idea to forward, you know.
I don't know.
No, I know, you're in
Yeah,
charge.
yeah.
But I mean, getting back, and I'm gonna be dead horse, what Eric says, we're not gonna force, we'll just disband the commission. Why are we doing this? I mean, we got better things to do it today than sit here and argue with each other
Get rid of it.
or enforce it.
Or start getting funding. Start charging. You can put fees on. Maybe something to look at. You wanna start doing it, but you start fee, start charging people to come in.
I think that as a town, you probably have a lot of better places to save your money, maybe not the only town with police officers, saying, oh, the council meetings there as well.
Let's say don't kill each other.
Yeah, if there's a way to save money.
I know.
One of the other properties on our list of concerns is 39 Pearl Street, the little fence.
It's still going through the process.
And how about the-
Why is it, how did it even become a problem? Yes,
How did that versus become a problem?
so it's a nice little fence. I mean, you guys gone and looked at it. I don't see that it's gonna be a problem for us.
No, I think they just, I think
Never got it.
there was a language barrier and there was an out-of-state issue with the person there.
Somebody never applied or somebody complained. I guess I'm curious about how. It's the problem.
Somebody complains.
Someone complained that that little.
I think it was actually the person who was applying for the final fence on Elm Street who said that fence is there. And we said we didn't prove it.
How about the steps in front of Port of Call? Are those just gone forever?
No, he's been working with it, so we had a meeting, I don't know when.
We'll do, or was it? Granite, when?
Spring car use it somewhere.
All right, this is the longest meeting I've ever been at.
We're gonna try and take an hour longer next time.
What happened today?
Is there no limits on how late you can go, or how's that work?
They've been over there at 2 o'clock in the morning sometimes.
But we're not them.
Thank God.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Yeah, I think the motion.
No, it's motion to adjourn.
I'd make a motion. to adjourn if nobody else wants to.
Thank you.